Chapter 1219. Just as the two immortal emperors rushed towards Su Fong, the void world inside the imperial mausoleum suddenly changed. Boom, boom, boom. Mountains collapsed one after another, and the earth shook. Corpses broke the seals in the tomb chamber, collapsed the mountains, and crawled out from the rubble, letting out terrifying roars. Waves of strong death chi soared into the sky, surging in the void world like a tide. The emperors and experts of the divine water nation buried in the mountains were resurrected one after another. The number of emperors and members of the imperial family buried in the imperial mausoleum was more than 1,000,000. At this time, no one knew how many of them had been resurrected. Looking at them, they were densely packed like maggots. The scene was shocking. The cultivators inside the imperial mausoleum, who were searching for the whereabouts of the demon-sealing emperor's heavenly seal, all felt their scalps go numb and their hearts tremble. Some unlucky cultivators were attacked by the corpses. In a hurry, who knew how many of them died? Their cultivation and physical essence became powerful nutrients for the resurrected corpses. Su Fong had just controlled a corpse that had the strength of a special disciple. Seeing this scene, he was also shocked. Luo's primordial spirit voice came from the blood jade in the depths of his body. Luo, didn't you say that not all cultivators can be resurrected? Why do the emperors and experts of the divine water nation all seem to be resurrected? Luo replied, according to my speculation, it should be because the void world inside the imperial mausoleum has been sealed for a long time, and the death chi is very strong. In addition, after these emperors and members of the imperial family died, they were buried with a Tao artifact that could preserve their bodies and souls, so the probability of resurrection is much higher. Well, I can use my second primordial spirit to control these corpses and improve my overall strength. Su Fong was excited and rushed to the nearby mountain. Whoosh! The second primordial spirit turned into a black Xian Guang and drilled into the divine aperture of the resurrected corpse. In less than a breath's time, it easily controlled the corpse and put it into the yellow spring Great Emperor's bottle by Su Fong. Whoosh! 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 Another 3 resurrected corpses were seized. The second primordial spirit was so powerful that it gave cultivators a headache, but Su Fong could control it and become part of his overall strength. Su Fong found a feeling of using the primordial chaos, sacred mirror, to control the big goblin in the lower realm. He was very excited. Buzz! Suddenly, some Tao runes from fate flashed in his mind. Heavenly secret life, shrinking technique. With such a commotion, Su Fong withdrew his second primordial spirit and stopped collecting the resurrected corpse. Someone is sensing my aura. A domineering figure could be vaguely seen in the Tao text. He was an immortal emperor expert from the tranquil emperor mansion, Emperor Ing. This person has never seen me before. How would he sense my aura? Su Fong was very surprised and shocked. Luo replied in his mind, immortal emperors who cultivate the way of the emperor, like Emperor Ning, can control an immortal realm. Although the immortal emperor in Emperor Ning's mansion is not as powerful as Emperor Ning, he at least has the ability to control a territory. Wherever you go, you will leave your aura, which can be collected and captured by him. This void world is not vast, and this person's cultivation realm has reached the immortal emperor realm. It's not difficult for him to collect your aura. The way of the emperor is indeed profound. While communicating with Luo through his primordial spirit, Su Fong was also preparing to activate the life-shrinking technique to conceal his aura. Buzz! The life-shrinking technique was activated again. This time, it was not sensed by a single expert, but by pairs of eyes in the entire void world that were staring at Su Fong. Someone has integrated with this void world to sense my existence. Apart from the new emperor of Divine Water Nation, who is controlled by Night Demon, no one else has this ability. This person's cultivation realm is not high, but his ability to control the will of the immortal realm is so powerful. Su Fong was shocked. Of course, he did not know that the newly ascended emperor of Divine Water Nation had burned his life, cultivation base, and the essence of his body to obtain such amazing ability. At this moment, he was being targeted by two supreme, immortal emperors. Even if he used the life-shrinking technique to conceal his aura, it would be too late. Su Fong could not think of a good way to escape in short time, so he could only go all out and fight to the death. In the void more than 100 feet away, a force that broke through the void suddenly appeared. Then, a figure suddenly broke through the void. It was Emperor Ying who appeared majestically. A resurrected corpse on the ground, whose strength had reached the level of an elder, suddenly leaped up and attacked Emperor Ying fiercely. Emperor Ying raised his sword-like eyebrows and unleashed a sovereign aura, shattering the flesh of the resurrected corpse and causing it to fall to the ground. Immortal Emperor realm experts were indeed powerful. "You're Su Fong." The Ying Emperor's eyes burned with vigor. He looked as if he had searched high and low for something, only to find it by sheer luck. If he knew that the demon-sealing Emperor's heavenly seal was also in Su Fong's possession, who knew what kind of surprise he would have? "I am indeed Su Fong. Does Lord Emperor Ying have any instructions for me?" Su Fong was not afraid at all. He secretly ordered the experts in his body and the big goblin to prepare for a fight at any time. At this time, he could not care about anything else. "I have long heard that you are extraordinary, and your reputation is comparable to the 10 young masters. Today, I see that you are indeed worthy of your reputation. You are even stronger than the rumors. Even Lin Han was captured alive by you. However, in front of me, you won't even have the chance to struggle. Hand over the ethereal true scripture and follow me to the tranquil Emperor's mansion. Perhaps I will spare your life." Emperor Ying looked down on Su Fong, as if he was in control of the entire situation. It was no wonder. He was a grand immortal emperor, and profound immortals were not even ants in front of him. For him to speak so much with Su Fong, it was already a sign that he viewed Su Fong in a new light. Su Fong sneered. "An immortal emperor actually knows a minor character like me. I, Su Fong, feel extremely honored. The ethereal true scripture is in my possession. Why don't you come and take it? Not only will I take away your ethereal true scripture, I will also take away everything you have, including your life," shouted Emperor Ying coldly. A supreme, domineering, and sovereign aura was released, enveloping this space. It was as if he had transformed into an emperor that could control the life and death of all living things. A single look from him could make all things submit. When one cultivated the Tao of Emperor to a certain level, just the aura they emitted was so terrifying that it could suppress the opponent's divine abilities and aura. It could even destroy the opponent's will. Suddenly, the aura and divine might erupted. Chains containing shocking restraining power shot out of the void. As if they had a life of their own, they shot towards Su Fong. In Emperor Ying's eyes, even if Su Fong had the strength to resist, he wouldn't have the will to do so. He could only wait to be captured. Who would have thought that a monarch's aura would burst out from Su Fong's body, bringing with it the aura of a sovereign and the loftiness of an overlord? The chains that were about to bind Su Fong suddenly stopped. After trembling a few times, they shattered. It turned out that Su Fong had used his Emperor Qi. How is this possible? Emperor Ying's eyes shone with disbelief. Su Fong's Emperor Qi clearly contained the aura of the Overlord Heaven Art from the Tranquil Emperor's residence. This shocked Emperor Ying. What shocked him even more was that Su Fong's Emperor Qi contained the aura and faith energy of the divine Billow immortal world. It was as if he was the true ruler of the divine Billow immortal world, causing Emperor Ying's Emperor Qi to be rejected by this land. Furthermore, Su Fong's Emperor Qi also contained supreme karmic luck. It was as if his every action was in harmony with the karmic luck of heaven and earth. He had the ability to resolve calamities and turn misfortunes into blessings. Compared to Emperor Ying, Su Fong's Emperor Qi was extremely weak. For example, Emperor Ying's Emperor Qi was like a vast beach, while Su Fong was like a speck of gold on the beach. No matter how vast the sand was, it would be unable to cover up the light of the gold. Emperor Ying's hale and hearty eyes suddenly exploded. He swept his gaze over Su Fong, wanting to see through him. The heavenly fate life, shrinking art, and the perfect fleshly body. Even immortal emperors would find it difficult to see through Su Fang's abilities. Emperor Ying could only see a stretch of nothingness. The more he looked at Su Fang, the more he felt that Su Fang was profound and unfathomable. Once this person cultivates the Tao of Emperor to a certain level, he will become a huge threat to the tranquil Emperor's residence. Moreover, with his cultivation speed and astonishing talent in forging, once he matures, he will definitely become a great enemy of the tranquil Emperor's residence. Emperor Ying's heart was filled with intense killing intent. Fortunately, this person won't be able to escape from my grasp today. If I capture him alive, I'll obtain the ethereal true scripture and the secret of his Emperor Qi. Emperor Ying was extremely pleased with himself. Step by step, he pressed toward Su Fang. Su Fang, surrender yourself. A figure suddenly appeared in front of Su Fang. It was Lin Yihan, an expert from the tranquil Emperor's residence. His body seemed to be sealed. Su Fang pressed his right palm on Lin Yihan's head and said coldly, Emperor Ying, Lin Yihan is in my hands. Aren't you afraid that I'll kill him? Emperor Ying said disdainfully, it's his supreme honor to sacrifice himself for the tranquil Emperor's residence. Lin Yihan was a peerless expert from the tranquil Emperor's residence. He was also a right-hand man of the tranquil Emperor. However, Emperor Ying didn't care about his life and was so cruel. Suddenly, his palm slapped on Lin Yihan's back. Su Fang's intention was very obvious. He wanted to stop Emperor Ying for a moment and then take the opportunity to escape. Lin Yihan spat out a mouthful of blood and flew towards Emperor Ying. Useless person, you've damaged the dignity of the tranquil Emperor's residence. I'll punish you when we get back. Emperor Ying snorted and removed the seal on Lin Yihan. In an instant, Su Fang escaped more than 1,000 feet away. You want to stop me with such a small trick? Emperor Ying took a step forward and was only 100 feet away from Su Fang. He released his domineering aura and reached out his hand towards Su Fang. The land of the Emperor's residence. Why don't you submit to me? A shocking force shrouded Su Fang's body. It was as if the void was frozen. Su Fang couldn't move at all. Seeing that Su Fang was about to fall into his control, Emperor Ying was very pleased. Suddenly, there was a movement behind him. It was Lin Yihan who activated the golden armor Tao instrument. He was burning his aura and attacking from behind. Emperor Ying raised his eyebrows and said, Lin Yihan, this man is of great use to the Imperial Prince Ning's mansion. Even though you hate him, you can't kill him. Boom! A golden flame flashed in the air and dashed towards Lin Yihan. His fist landed on Emperor Ying's back. Emperor Ying staggered. His aura was shattered. There was a big hole in the clothes on his back. He was badly mutilated and spat out a mouthful of blood. After being hit by Lin Yihan's full force attack, even though he was an immortal emperor, he was still injured. Lin Yihan was also sent flying by the force. He kept spitting out blood and was seriously injured again. However, his eyes were cold and he didn't look like he was in pain. It was as if he wasn't the one who was injured. Lin Yihan, how dare you betray the tranquil Emperor's residence? Emperor Ying was burning with anger. He roared in anger. Obviously, he was shocked and furious. Lin Yihan's eyes lit up with a gray light that distorted the space. His primordial spirit's divine power was burning. Su Fang also attacked from behind. Su Fang had planned this beforehand. He let Lin Yihan, who was controlled by his second primordial spirit, sneak attack Emperor Ying. Even if they couldn't kill him, they would at least seriously injure him. Suddenly, a figure broke through the air. It was the old servant of the Divine Wave Nation who was possessed by Yi Mei. Chapter 1220. Whoosh whoosh whoosh, one expert after another followed closely behind Night Demon. Emperor Ying had fought with Yi Mei before and was very wary of this mysterious peerless expert from the Divine Wave Nation's Imperial Palace. He looked at Yi Mei vigilantly and did not attack Su Fang for the time being. Second primordial spirit, come back. Su Fang hurriedly sent a message to his second primordial spirit. Lin Yihan returned to Su Fang's side and was absorbed into the crucible transformation world. Emperor Ying's attention was on Yi Mei and did not care about Su Fang's actions. Su Fang had personally experienced the terror of Yi Mei in the Nether-Earth ruins. The reason why his second primordial spirit was so powerful was because it had integrated and refined Yi Mei's consciousness and rune mark. Not to mention that there was a peerless, immortal emperor powerhouse next to him. Su Fang did not dare to be careless. The situation was very unfavorable for Su Fang. It could even be said that it was a life and death crisis. Two immortal emperor powerhouses. One was proficient in the Tao of Emperors. The other had an incomparably powerful primordial spirit. Neither of them was easy to deal with. Even if Su Fang exposed his full strength, he felt powerless in the face of these two powerhouses. "Brother, let us out. We'll fight them. At worst, we'll die." Bai Ling's voice came from the Crucible Transformation World. The experts of the Crucible Transformation World and the Big Goblin were also eager to fight. They never thought that they would be qualified to fight against immortal emperors. Although they were a little nervous, they were not afraid. Of course, that greedy and cowardly monk had to be eliminated. Luo Ye's voice came from the Blood Jade. "You're fighting two immortal emperors at the same time. You don't have much chance of winning. Moreover, you may expose the secret of the Yellow Spring Blood Sea. I advise you to escape." Escape? This time, I can only avoid them temporarily. It won't be long before I get back at them. Su Fang's gaze swept over the resurrected corpses below. His eyes burned with cold and ruthless killing intent. Second Primordial Spirit's voice was full of killing intent. Whether it's Emperor Ying or Yi Mei, as long as they are alone, with the cooperation of me and you, we have a great chance of killing them. It just so happens that I need to possess an even stronger body. It would be even better if I could devour that night demon. Emperor Ying looked at Night Demon and said, "This man has something that the Emperor Ning's mansion is determined to get. No matter who you are, if you dare to attack him again, you will become an enemy of the Emperor Ning's mansion." Night Demon sneered. "Don't you think there's nothing on this man that I'm determined to get? Others may be afraid of your Emperor Ning's mansion, but I'm not. So what if we fight to the death? Sir, it seems that you're also determined to obtain the true essence of Misty. Between you and I, there's only a battle. There is no other choice." Emperor Ying's eyes were filled with coldness as he slowly released his domineering aura. Ethereal quintessence. Night Demon was stunned. Only now did she realize that Emperor Ying didn't know that the demon-sealing Emperor's heavenly seal was on Su Fang. Naturally, he wouldn't expose her. Instead, he sneered coldly. "I don't want the true enlightenment of Mist. I only want one thing from him. This person has many tricks up his sleeves, and his strength is extraordinary as well. In order to prevent any accidents from happening, let's capture him alive first. It won't be too late for us to decide who's stronger after that." Very good. Emperor Ying turned around and looked at Su Fang. He took a step forward and charged towards Su Fang. However, Night Demon didn't have any intention to attack. Clearly, she was planning to take advantage of the situation. Su Fang sneered. She raised her right hand, and 500 to 600 black runes flew toward Emperor Ying. Boom, 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 boom. There was a huge explosion. The poisonous gas and demonic chi converged into many black arrows and rained down on Emperor Ying. As the ghouls became more powerful, the poisonous runes became more powerful. Also, Su Fang could control the poisonous gas and demonic chi and transform them into different forms to attack. "Don't try to stop me with your petty tricks." Emperor Ying sneered. He unleashed his chi of sovereign. As he ran, his momentum was like thunder, shattering the poisonous gas and demonic chi. Swish, swish, swish. 5 huge ghouls came and blocked Emperor Ying's path. "You do have some tricks up your sleeves. Poisonous runes, ghouls, a few powerful warriors, and Big Goblin. Even the Grand Elder would fall if he wasn't careful. However, before me, these are just petty tricks. I will crush you." Emperor Ying was surprised. However, he didn't take it to heart. He activated his skills and killed the ghouls in an instant. That delay was enough for Su Fang to escape to the ground. The countless resurrected corpses on the ground sensed Su Fong's life force and swarmed toward him. There were also countless reanimated corpses that charged at Emperor Ing recklessly, so panicked that you don't know where to go. Emperor Ing sneered and charged toward him. His momentum shook the dozens of resurrected corpses. They couldn't get close to him at all. Wooling Goblin. As soon as Su Fong landed on the ground, he released the Wooling Goblin. Master, don't worry. There are countless mountains in the void world inside the Imperial Mausoleum. The ground is full of rocks. As long as I burrow into the ground, even immortal emperors can't do anything to me. The Wooling Goblin swallowed Su Fong and turned into a stone belt. It didn't have any demonic chi, and it didn't make much noise. It quickly burrowed into the rubble formed by the collapsed mountains. Heaven's Secret Life Shrinking Technique. Su Fong also activated the Heaven's Secret Life Shrinking Technique inside the Wooling Goblin to hide his aura. Because of this, he lost some of his life force and his hair turned gray. Together with the Earth God's might, the Wooling Goblin's aura merged with the surrounding Earth essence. When Emperor Ing saw that Su Fong had disappeared, he was surprised. Even if you have the ability to burrow like a rat, you can't escape from me. With a disdainful smile, Emperor Ing released his sensing ability. Then, his eyes revealed a look of disbelief. Everything related to Su Fong, his life force, aura, and true chi, he couldn't sense anything. It was as if he had completely evaporated from the void. Su Fong used the Heaven's Secret Life Shrinking Technique. Not to mention Emperor Ing, who was an immortal emperor. Even an immortal emperor would find it hard to sense Su Fong's existence. Ha ha! I thought Emperor Ing of the Tranquil Emperor's residence was very impressive. To think that a mystic, immortal realm cultivator could escape from under his nose. This is really an eye-opener. A wave of mocking came from the sky. It turned out that Yi Mei saw that Emperor Ing couldn't find Su Fong. He was surprised and shocked. He couldn't help but mock Emperor Ing. You want to escape from me? Dream on. Even if I have to turn the entire void world upside down, I will capture you alive. Emperor Ying's face burned. He roared and stomped on the ground. Boom! Boom! His domineering aura exploded. The earth trembled under his feet. With a loud rumble, the rocks and soil on the ground rolled like waves. Among the densely packed army of corpses, there were also human cultivators. Some of them were directly buried in the gravel and soil. There were also cultivators who were flying in the air who couldn't control their bodies. They fell to the ground like dumplings and were swallowed by the resurrected corpses. The strength of the immortal emperor of the Tranquil Emperor's residence was amazing. Underground, Wooling Goblin, who was shuttling through the cracks in the rocks, was swept by a majestic aura and was immediately injured. I've been discovered. Wooling Goblin, can you still hold on? Su Fong asked worriedly. Wooling Goblin replied firmly, Master, my injuries are fine. It's just that I've been discovered. What should I do? Heaven's Secret Life Shrinking Technique. Su Fong didn't care about the loss of his lifespan. He once again used the Heaven's Secret Life Shrinking Technique to the extreme. Su Fong's eyes suddenly flashed with a scorching light. Wooling Goblin gulped down diagonally. It turned out that Su Fong had sensed an extremely dense death aura deep underground. Moreover, it was very strong and had reached the level of an immortal emperor. It was obvious that the Emperor of the Divine Water Nation, or a royal expert buried deep underground, was about to be resurrected. That death aura. It should be the founding Emperor of the Divine Water Nation. He was also the strongest person in the history of the Divine Water Nation. This person had been dead for millions of years, but his physical body didn't disappear. There were also remnants of his soul that was resurrected by the evil aura of heaven and earth. If I let my second primordial spirit take over this corpse, I can fight back against Emperor Ing and Yi Mei. Su Fong was very expectant. Under Su Fong's guidance, Wooling Goblin headed toward the tomb of the founding emperor. Boom! Boom! Behind them, there was a constant commotion. It turned out that Emperor Ing had also gone underground. He used his amazing ability to shatter all obstacles and forced his way underground. His speed was actually not much slower than Wooling Goblin. Wooling Goblin, hurry up. the big goblin in the crucible transformation realm, was also very anxious. It kept urging Wooling Goblin, wishing that it could come out and replace Wooling Goblin. The commotion behind them was getting louder and louder. Emperor Ing was getting closer and closer. It was hair-raising. Suddenly, with his perfection stage ability, he saw many thin imprints in front of him. When he looked carefully, the imprints intertwined to form a barrier that didn't have any aura. It turned out that they were about to reach the tomb and had encountered the barrier outside the tomb. "Wooling Goblin, let me out," Su Fong said from Wooling Goblin's body. Wooling Goblin used its claws to open up a space underground that could accommodate it. Then, it returned to its original body. As soon as Su Fong came out, it immediately sucked Wooling Goblin into its palm and let it swallow pills in the crucible transformation world to recover from its injuries. Then, its body shattered into pieces and turned into a bloody state. Then, it turned into the shape of a blood belt. At this time, the Yellow Spring Blood Sea displayed its magical ability. It nimbly passed through the gaps of the barrier's imprints without touching the barrier at all. Just as Su Fong entered the tomb's passage, Emperor Ing came from behind, smashing rocks and soil as he charged forward. Whoosh! Emperor Ing suddenly stopped and raised his eyebrows. Barrier. Of course, such a barrier couldn't stop an immortal Emperor-level expert like him. However, when he sensed the strong aura of death, Emperor Ying's eyes revealed fear and trepidation. That terrifying aura was almost on par with his. Moreover, the resurrected cultivator had an extremely strong recovery ability. It was almost immortal. It could also spit out a very corrosive corpse poison. If it was outside, Emperor Ying naturally wouldn't be afraid. However, in this underground tomb, fighting with an immortal Emperor-level resurrected corpse wasn't an easy thing to do. I actually lost Su Fong's aura again. He really has some tricks up his sleeve. I'm afraid that even the resurrected corpse can't sense his life aura. I'll stay here and wait for the Emperor of the Divine Wave Nation to resurrect and leave. Let's see where you can run to then. After pondering for a while, Emperor Ing simply stood guard outside the tomb. Not far away from Emperor Ing, a floating, illusory figure was shuttling through the rocks and mud. It was as if nothing could stop it. Even the enchantment outside the tomb was useless to the illusory figure. It passed right through the enchantment. It turned out that Night Demon had abandoned the body she had seized and followed Emperor Ing with her original body. At this time, she directly charged into the tomb. Chapter 1221. Divine Wave Nation's First Emperor's Tomb. All kinds of gems and immortal stones were embedded on the walls of the tomb, shining brightly. With the help of the light, one could clearly see the inside of the tomb. Spacious, spectacular, grand, and luxurious. All kinds of rooms for different purposes were available. Exquisite stone carvings and burial places could be seen. It was like a huge palace, far bigger than any of the other tombs. However, the tomb was filled with a strong aura of death, evil, and gloomy aura. It was very terrifying. There was almost no heaven and earth spiritual chi in this place. There were some faint human figures wandering around in the empty tomb. These were the tens of thousands of concubines, slaves, and craftsmen buried with the Divine Wave Nation's first emperor. They were full of resentment and had not dissipated for millions of years. They were the undead spirits formed by the evil aura of heaven and earth. As soon as Su Fong entered the tomb, he went straight to the main tomb. He was not in the mood to appreciate the scenery around him, nor did he care about the undead spirits. Sensing Su Fong's life aura, the undead spirits were like moths that saw a light in the dark. They all rushed towards Su Fong. Circulating the nine-yang true chi, he formed an aura field around him. As soon as the undead spirits came within 10 feet of him, they immediately turned into wisps of green smoke. However, the undead spirits in the distance still rushed over. Su Fong was too lazy to pay attention to them. His purpose was very clear. He wanted to find the first emperor's corpse in the main tomb. After he was resurrected, he would directly take over his body. Then, he would return and give Emperor Ing a fierce counterattack. While searching for the main tomb, He peeled off a young immortal and entered the crucible transformation space in his body. He directly went to Wooling Goblin's healing array. Wooling Goblin, how are your injuries? Wooling Goblin looked very weak. Previously, when he was attacked by Emperor Yingzora, he was seriously injured. Fortunately, he had merged with the world fragment not long ago, and his strength had increased a lot. Otherwise, he would have been seriously injured this time. Master, subordinate is fine. Bai Ling, Green Feather King, and the other big goblin were also there. Bai Ling said angrily, not only was Wooling Goblin injured, but my brother also lost a lot of life force. Sooner or later, we will make Tranquility Emperor Mansion pay for this. Green Feather King in his human form patted the Wooling Goblin and said, You've done another meritorious deed today. Not bad. If there's a chance in the future, I'll personally capture a few experts from the Tranquil Emperor residence and let you devour their essence. I'll help you vent your anger. Su Fang's mind moved. Immediately, numerous immortal sky pellets, as well as other spiritual items and resources, were delivered to Wooling Goblin. Then, he said coldly, Recuperate well. Soon, we will get our revenge on Emperor Ing. After ascending to the great immortal world from the small world, Su Fang gradually developed a ruthless character. Whoever dared to show his fangs to him, no matter how powerful that person was, he would mercilessly tear off a piece of flesh from that person. Buzz, the heavenly secret life shrinking technique, suddenly had a strong reaction. Countless Tao runes turned into an illusory figure in his mind, like a ball of black light. This is Night Demon. The illusory figure in the black light was both familiar and unfamiliar to Su Fang. It was somewhat similar to the consciousness of Night Demon in the rune imprint. However, its aura was hundreds of times stronger. After all, it was only a consciousness in the imprint, but now it was a complete Night Demon. Did Night Demon chase him into the tomb? Su Fang was somewhat nervous. Luo's solemn voice came from the depths of his body. Su Fang, you must be careful. This time, it's Night Demon's true body. Although it's far inferior to the Lord of the Dark World, it's still very powerful. Even my second primordial spirit is not his match. I understand. Luo's second primordial spirit was eager to give it a try. It said in a cold voice, Main body, Night Demon has come at the right time. Once I subdue him and devour him, my primordial spirit's power will definitely skyrocket. I'll let you have your wish. Immediately, Su Fang stopped in an open area of the tomb. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The big goblin and experts were all released, including the ghouls and the resurrected corpses. They formed layer after layer of defenses. Your mission is not to deal with Night Demon, but to chase after Emperor Ing, who might have entered the tomb. If Emperor Ing enters the tomb while I'm fighting with Night Demon, I want you to stop him for a while at all costs until I subdue Night Demon. Yes, Master. The experts and Big Goblin under Luo's command also realized that they were about to face an unprecedented crisis. Not only did it concern Su Fang's life and death, it also concerned them. None of them dared to not use all their strength. He then summoned his second primordial spirit into his divine aperture ocean and sat cross-legged on the ground. Luo Shui said in shock, Su Fang, do you want to use your primordial spirit ocean as a battlefield to subdue Night Demon? You're taking a risk. If you're not careful, you'll lose your life. Danger. On the path of cultivation, when is there no danger? Even mortals will encounter danger when eating or walking, let alone cultivators. But Luo, of course, I'm not doing this because I'm hot-headed. I'm only doing this because I'm confident. Night Demon's primordial spirit is 100 times, 10,000 times stronger than any other life form. It can take over someone's body in an instant. Even my second primordial spirit will find it difficult to fight against Night Demon. I can only lure it into my divine aperture and use the power of my main primordial spirit, second primordial spirit, and demonic blood plate to subdue it in one fell swoop. Be careful. If you're taken over by Night Demon, I don't know how many tens of thousands of years I'll have to wait to find a glimmer of hope. Su Fang's primordial spirit voice was filled with great confidence. Luo couldn't say anything, but he was infected by Su Fang's confidence. It only took 2 or 3 breaths of time to finish all the preparations. Whoosh, a black light appeared in the tomb. The light flickered as if it could be extinguished at any time. In the center of the light, there was an illusory figure that didn't seem to belong to this space-time. Night Demon was greatly shocked as well when she saw such a large array within the tomb. She'd never expected that there would actually be so many terrifying experts and greater demons by the side of a mysterious immortal realm cultivator. Such a force was sufficient to sweep through a mid-level sect or clan in the grand immortal dimension. However, Night Demon didn't take these big goblin and experts to heart at all. He had a disdainful look on his face. That day, you spied on me in the Divine Wave Nation's Imperial Palace. Then, you were lucky enough to escape. Then, you killed the Imperial Advisor and the puppet I controlled. Night Demon's cold and embarrassed voice came from the black light. Su Fang coldly replied, "That's right." Night Demon continued to ask, "The Demon Sealing Emperor's heavenly seal is also on you. Since you know why ask, you have so many experts and big goblin by your side. It's not difficult for you to kill the Imperial Advisor and those 3 hosts. But what I don't understand is how you refine the seal rune that controls them. Even I can't sense it." There were 2 reasons why Night Demon had chased him here. The Demon Sealing Emperor's heavenly seal. The Demon Sealing Emperor's heavenly seal was the key to obtaining the supreme body of the Divine Wave Nation's imperial ancestor. Once the Lord of the Dark Knight recovered his former strength, this body would be personally possessed by him. Therefore, Night Demon was determined to obtain the Demon Sealing Emperor's heavenly seal. And Su Fang could restrain the seal rune that Night Demon used to control human cultivators. This made Night Demon feel a huge threat. He had to figure out before killing Su Fang. Su Fang mocked, "Do you think I'll tell you? If you submit to me now, I can beg Master to grant you immortality. One day, when Master's divine ability is complete and he recovers his former strength, he will sweep through this immortal domain and even the entire great immortal world. You will be the immortal master who controls a great immortal world." Night Demon's eerie voice was filled with temptation. Immortality? Wasn't this the goal of countless cultivators? Being the ruler of a great immortal world was also the goal of all cultivators. Unfortunately, this Night Demon had encountered Su Fang and knew a lot about the Night Demon clan. Of course, he wouldn't have any reaction. Instead, he mocked. "Immortality? Becoming a puppet under your control? This is your so-called immortality? The so-called immortal master who controls a great immortal world is even more laughable. An existence that is neither human nor ghost wants to sweep through a great immortal world. You human cultivators won't shed tears until you see the coffin. Wait until I possess your primordial spirit. I will let you know what it means to live a life worse than death." Night Demon's voice was cold and murderous. With a swish, he pierced through the void and charged towards Su Fang. "Stop him." Su Fang looked panicked and hurriedly issued orders to the experts and Big Goblin. Magic treasures and divine abilities were shot out one after another, forming shocking attacks. Even Emperor Ing didn't dare to face such a fierce attack head-on. "I have the supreme power to pierce through time and space. Any formation, divine ability, or even space can't do anything to me. I can move freely between heaven and earth. No matter how powerful your experts and Big Goblin are, they can't do anything to me." Accompanied by Night Demon's cold and embarrassed voice, black light wrapped around Night Demon's illusory body and moved freely among the divine abilities and auras. It wasn't easy at all. Su Fang's face was filled with shock, surprise, panic, and fear. With a smug laugh, Night Demon entered Su Fang's forehead from between his eyebrows. Almost without any resistance, Night Demon directly entered Su Fang's divine aperture. How can a human mystic immortal cultivator block the supreme, primordial spirit divine ability of the Night Demon clan? In the divine aperture, Night Demon laughed loudly and arrogantly. "You're finally here. One of Su Fang's young immortals appeared in the sky above the vast Dharma Power Sea and spoke coldly. Just as he finished speaking, "You're finally here." More than 100,000 young immortals appeared and spoke in the same voice at the same time, which suddenly resounded in the divine aperture space. The voices gathered together like a sudden clap of thunder, like a tsunami, causing the ocean below to surge violently. "You're just a mystic immortal cultivator. How can you have such a powerful primordial spirit?" Night Demon was completely shocked and was dumbfounded. The dense young immortal army spoke at the same time. "I'm not as weak as you expected. Are you surprised?" Whoosh! A human illusory figure jumped out from the black light and turned into a gray-robed elder. "You really surprised me. This is the first time I've seen such a powerful primordial spirit among human cultivators. I'm really lucky. I can finally have a good meal." The gray-robed elder, that Night Demon, turned and licked his lips. His eyes flickered with a greedy black light, like a starving wild dog that suddenly saw a piece of fat meat. "You want to devour my Su Fang? Aren't you afraid of bursting your stomach?" More than 100,000 young immortals charged towards Night Demon. Their auras caused the primordial spirit to surge like a huge wave. The primordial spirits of human cultivators have always been Night Demon's food. "How dare you be so arrogant in front of me? You really don't know what's good for you." Night Demon suddenly unleashed his primordial spirit aura. Gray distorted light instantly covered the young immortals and the primordial spirit sea, forming a huge primordial spirit shackle. Su Fang's young immortals trembled uneasily, as if doomsday had arrived. Night Demon saw this and was very pleased. At this moment, a golden Su Fang suddenly appeared above the divine aperture space. It was the second primordial spirit that charged out from the depths of the divine aperture. Chapter 12:22. Chi strands of sword chi were unleashed by the second soul, like raindrops. They immediately tore through the presence of the Night Demon's soul, riddling it with holes and shattering it immediately. That's another primordial spirit. This human cultivator actually managed to cultivate a second primordial spirit. Night Demon's shock was no small matter. It was as if a stormy sea had been set off, truly shocking. Not only is this human's primordial divinity incomparably powerful, but it also feels somewhat familiar. It was formed by refining imprints. How is this possible? How can a human have such a primordial divinity ability? Night Demon finally figured out why Su Fang was such a threat to him. Being able to refine the imprint and devour the consciousness of the Night Demon meant that Su Fang had mastered the means to restrain the Night Demon's ability to control human cultivators. How could this Night Demon not be shocked? It was a strong threat. It must be obliterated. After the initial shock, Night Demon's killing intent soared. At the same time, he was ecstatic and excited. From the aura of the second primordial spirit, Night Demon determined that the second primordial spirit had devoured and refined the consciousness and imprint of the Dark World Lord. If Night Demon devoured the second primordial spirit, the power of her primordial spirit would definitely increase by leaps and bounds. Kill the aura of Yi Mei's primordial spirit explosion brought along a ferocious primordial spirit tsunami, attacking the second primordial spirit and the young immortal army ferociously. As of this moment, it was a battle between two nascent divinities, not physical objects, nor was it a battle of power or divine abilities. It was even more shocking than a clash of cultivation bases or true energy. Night Demon was a consciousness-type life form. Even without cultivating its primordial spirit, it was already 100 times or even 10,000 times stronger than any other life form. It could possess young immortals and control their primordial spirits. It had a lethal restraining effect on the primordial spirits of human cultivators. Although Su Fang's original body and second primordial spirit were far stronger than ordinary cultivators, and his second primordial spirit was even stronger than immortal emperors, and the battlefield was in his divine aperture ocean, and the whole world was filled with the divine might of his primordial spirit, they were still too weak against Night Demon. The second primordial spirit was forced to retreat The young immortal army was also collapsing. Many of them were devoured by Night Demon's primordial spirit. Human cultivator, did you lead me to your divine aperture's ocean just to let me enjoy a delicious meal? I really have to thank you, haha. Night Demon laughed wantonly, extremely pleased with himself. Although the experts and Big Goblin outside couldn't see the great battle inside the divine aperture, they could see that Su Fong's face was contorted in pain. They understood what kind of danger Su Fong was going through. Each and every one of them was sweating profusely and on edge, yet they did not dare to make the slightest movement, for fear that the Su Fong would be disturbed. Law, deep in his body, also fell into silence. It's not that he doesn't care, but he is very nervous, but he doesn't dare to distract Su Fong. Divine Aperture Ocean. Night Demon had the absolute advantage. The supreme primordial spirit she was releasing was going to kill Su Fong's young, immortal primordial spirit. Then, she would destroy the divine aperture ocean and fuse with Su Fong's consciousness. It seemed like it was only a matter of time. Hundreds of thousands of young immortals suddenly gathered together and transformed into Su Fong's main body, standing side by side with his second primordial spirit. His main body appeared to be extremely weak, like an arrow at the end of its flight. His second primordial spirit was still brimming with killing intent, but its aura was far weaker than before. Second primordial spirit. Main body. His main body and second primordial spirit looked at each other and revealed a resolute aura, charging towards Night Demon at the same time. What's the use of a dying struggle in front of me? Night Demon sneered disdainfully. She charged out with surging primordial spirit waves like a flood, intending to completely crush Su Fong and second primordial spirit. At this moment, Su Fong's main body and second primordial spirit, whose auras were originally weak, suddenly surged and became countless times stronger. It was as if they had obtained a supreme primordial spirit power, pushing the main body and second primordial spirit to break through the wind and waves, shattering Night Demon's primordial spirit waves. Heavenly Devil Blood Plate, after fusing with Su Fong, it hovered in the depths of the divine aperture ocean, guarding it, forever connected to the primordial spirit. It was precisely because of this peerless treasure hidden in the divine aperture's depths that Su Fong had the confidence to lure Night Demon into the divine aperture ocean for a decisive battle. Only now did Su Fong suddenly activate the Heavenly Devil Blood Plate when Night Demon was complacent and unguarded. The Heavenly Devil Blood Plate suddenly burst into flames, erupting with boundless divine might that covered the entire divine aperture ocean. Night Demon's laughter was still echoing when the primordial spirit wave shattered. Her own primordial spirit was also nearly shattered, and with a whoosh, it entered the black light. Whoosh! The Heavenly Devil Blood Plate shot out a shocking demonic light that enveloped Night Demon and shackled her. In the beginning, Night Demon was still constantly struggling, but the Heavenly Devil Blood Plate was a supreme Tao artifact that countered primordial spirit power. No matter how strong Night Demon's primordial spirit was, she couldn't break free from the Heavenly Devil Blood Plate's shackles. Su Fong's main body and second primordial spirit also took the opportunity to charge into the Heavenly Devil Blood Plate's demonic light, launching fierce primordial spirit attacks at Night Demon. Pa! 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 Beat a drowning dog. How satisfying. A dozen breaths later, under the attacks of the Heavenly Devil Blood Plate, Su Fong's main body and second primordial spirit, the incomparably powerful Night Demon could only shrink into the black light. Her illusory figure became much smaller, and the black light also became on the verge of death, about to extinguish at any moment. Whoosh! The defenseless Night Demon was sucked into the Heavenly Devil Blood Plate space. Su Fong's main body and second primordial spirit also entered the Tao artifact space. The second primordial spirit struck out chains to seal Night Demon, while Su Fong's main body also activated the Heavenly Devil Blood Plate's array formation to firmly shackle Night Demon. Now, she couldn't cause any more trouble. Second primordial spirit, Are your injuries serious? Very serious. However, as long as you refine and fuse with this night demon, not only will you recover, your primordial spirit power will definitely increase by several times. Therefore, there's no need for me to worry. In your current state, it's not suitable for you to refine night demon. Although she's shackled, she's still a night demon and not a consciousness. If anything happens, you won't be able to bear the consequences. The imprint in the heavenly astral creation cauldron, personally refined by the Lord of the Dark Realm, is about to be refined. After you fuse with this imprint, use the heavenly devil blood plate's divine power to constantly weaken Night Demon. When Night Demon is at its weakest, try to refine her. Let's do as I say. After leaving the heavenly devil blood plate space, the second primordial spirit directly entered the heavenly astral creation cauldron's inner world and waited for the imprint to be refined before fusing with it. Luo Song's voice came from the depths of his body. Congratulations. This time, it was a close call. Your luck is really good. Su Fong very happily replied. I have the violet Qi Law spirit and also fused with the sovereign Qi. My luck is naturally good. The most important thing is that you have absolute confidence in your victory. Even I can't guarantee that you'll win, but you have 100 times more confidence in yourself. That's the key to your victory. As long as you believe you can do it, you can erupt with endless power. Furthermore, I was forced into a desperate situation. How could I not fight to the death? Aside from danger, there's also a huge opportunity within a crisis. This time, you've survived the crisis and obtained great benefits. If you refine this Night Demon, not only will your second primordial spirit become stronger and crush immortal emperors, but you can also refine imprints like Night Demon and Control Experts. Your strength will increase greatly again, not to mention immortal emperors. You'll even have the ability to protect yourself against immortal emperors. Supreme immortal emperors don't only have powerful primordial spirits. Furthermore, which immortal emperor powerhouse doesn't oversee an immortal world and have a powerful overall force? It's still a long way to go before you can truly contend against an immortal emperor. Not bad. You haven't lost your mind yet. Huff, Su Fong suddenly opened his eyes and let out a long breath. Only then did he realize that his entire body was soaked in sweat. Swish, swish, swish. Everyone's gazes focused on Su Fong. The eyes of the experts and Big Goblin were filled with vigilance and suspicion. Bai Ling sized up Su Fong and asked fearfully, Are you Su Fong or Night Demon? Su Fong smiled bitterly and said, Sister Bai, of course it's me, Su Fong. How can I be possessed by Night Demon so easily? The experts and Big Goblin were still a little doubtful. Su Fong was very helpless. He really didn't know how to explain it to these subordinates. After all, Night Demon's possession of human cultivators was not as simple as simply possessing the physical body. Instead, it used imprints to control the human cultivator's consciousness. Their cultivation, divine abilities, and even consciousness would not change at all. It was very difficult for others to tell if they were being controlled by Night Demon. After thinking for a while, Su Fong took out the Xianhuang Six Paths Pagoda, the Flaming Cloud Spirit Gourd, the Starry Daylight Sword, and even the Underworld Reincarnation Sword. If one's consciousness was being controlled, it wouldn't be able to hide it from the artifact spirit of the Underworld Reincarnation Sword, which was comparable to one of the 10 Great Tao artifacts. Only then did the experts and Big Goblin believe it. They immediately rushed forward, beaming with joy. Green Feather King, who had transformed into his human form, slapped Su Fong on the shoulder and said, You really scared this king to death. Bai Ling's eyes were filled with tears. Obviously, she was extremely worried about Su Fong just now. Feeling the concern of these two Big Goblin, Su Fong's heart was also warm. The other experts in Big Goblin were also more and more in awe of Su Fong. What kind of terrifying existence was Night Demon? Tung Ba had the deepest memory of it. Just a wisp of Night Demon's consciousness had almost killed him. Among the others, even if they hadn't experienced the dangers of the Nether Ruins before, they had just witnessed the terrifying power of Night Demon's primordial spirit. At this time, Su Fong actually imprisoned Night Demon, It was Night Demon, not a wisp of consciousness. One could imagine how powerful his primordial spirit was. The newly subdued Dai Yong, Yin Mo, and the others originally had doubts about Su Fong's strength, but now they were completely convinced. Not to mention other things, just his supreme primordial spirit could easily wipe them out, not to mention other amazing divine abilities. Su Fong asked, "Is there any movement from Emperor Ying's side?" "There's still no movement. I don't know what he's planning," Green Feather King replied. "Has Emperor Ying given up?" Su Fong frowned slightly. He didn't believe that Emperor Ying would give up. Lin Yihan, the expert of Emperor Ning's residence, was controlled, and he also had the ethereal enlightenment. Su Fong didn't believe that Emperor Ying would give up. Using the great perfection ability, coupled with the divine power of Earth, he spread it out from the walls of the tomb to sense the surrounding aura. At this time, the range of his great perfection ability was astonishing. If combined with the heavenly secret life shrinking technique, his sensing ability would even surpass that of an immortal lord. However, his great perfection ability was limited underground. He had to rely on the divine power of Earth to barely sense it. The range was less than 10 miles. The result? Outside the tomb seal, Su Fong sensed an empty but domineering aura. Who else could it be other than Emperor Ying? As expected, he still hasn't given up. He's guarding outside the tomb. Perhaps he's afraid of the first emperor of the Divine Wave Nation, who is about to be resurrected in the tomb. Fortunately, he didn't come in. If he and Night Demon attack from both inside and outside, it would be difficult to escape this time. Su Fong felt a lingering fear. "Since you don't dare to come in and miss the opportunity to kill me, then wait for your second primordial spirit to seize the corpse of the first emperor of the Divine Wave Nation." Su Fong's eyes were cold and murderous. Chapter 1223. Su Fong stored all the experts, Big Goblin, and the resurrected corpses into his Dao artifact dimension. He casually found a burial chamber to bury them. Then, he set up a formation and sat on the ground. Although he had subdued Night Demon this time, he had suffered a great loss. When he was escaping from Emperor Ying, he had used the life-shrinking technique to the extreme. He estimated that he had lost at least a few thousand years of lifespan. His hair had turned white, and his face had become as old as a middle-aged man. After the battle with Night Demon in the Divine Aperture Ocean, his primordial spirit had also suffered great damage. The lost lifespan was easy to recover. Once he left the void world inside the Imperial Mausoleum, he could find a secluded place to break through at any time. He still had more than half of the ice-soul blood fetus that he had yet to merge with, which was enough to make up for the lost life force. However, there was no good way to deal with the damage to his primordial spirit. He could only cultivate the Heavenly Demon Book to slowly recover. Fortunately, the Death Chi and Evil Chi here were very thick. He could refine them with 9 Yang True Chi and convert them into primordial spirit power. His recovery would be several times faster. Boom! After forming a seal, his body collapsed into a pool of blood that was close to 100 feet long. He had swallowed a large number of pills, spiritual items, and also the ice-soul blood fetus. However, he didn't use them to increase his cultivation level. Instead, he used them to replenish his life force. It wasn't suitable for him to break through here, so he could only suppress it for now. The boiling pool of blood burned with the flames of life. At the same time, he cultivated the Yellow Spring Blood Sea, the life-shrinking technique, and other techniques. He also tried to break through the 25th Yang Meridian. Whoosh! Whoosh! The thick Death Chi and Evil Chi were attracted by his techniques. They were then refined by 9 Yang True Chi and turned into pure Yin Chi to nourish his injured primordial spirit. Inside, the Heavenly Dipper Creation Cauldron. Inside a formation, a mark obtained from the Divine Tide Nation's Imperial Advisor's Divine Aperture was being refined. With the Heavenly Dipper Creation Cauldron's refining ability, it wouldn't take long for it to be completely refined. Then, his second primordial spirit would easily merge with it. Su Fong was in a state of cultivation. The commotion in the main tomb grew louder and louder. The intense death energy fluctuations were like a tsunami. The first emperor of the Divine Wave Nation, who had died millions of years ago, was about to be resurrected. Su Fong peeled off a young immortal and left his body, paying attention to the situation over there. He was waiting for the first emperor to revive so that his second primordial spirit could take over his body and kill his way out of the tomb. Outside the tomb, Emperor Ying's sword-like brows were tightly knitted together. His eyes flickered with anxiety, appearing extremely anxious. Because the death chi in the tomb was fluctuating violently, coupled with the tomb's seal and rocks, even immortal emperor experts couldn't sense anything in the tomb. As for the battle between Su Fong and Yi Mei in the Divine Aperture Ocean, Emperor Ying had no way of knowing. The only thing he could be sure of was that Su Fong was still in the tomb. At this time, the 8 great powers had all rushed to the divine below immortal realm. If this dragged on for too long, it would be troublesome to escape. What made him even more anxious was that even though the ethereal true scripture was right in front of him, he was unable to obtain it. Several times, Emperor Ying wanted to directly charge into the tomb, find Su Fong, and capture him alive. However, he sensed that the death chi was growing thicker and thicker. It was like a vast ocean. Even an immortal emperor like him was affected by it. He also didn't know where Su Fong was, and the Divine Billow Nation's first emperor could revive at any time. Emperor Ying could only give up on that idea. Su Fong, once I capture you alive and obtain the ethereal true scripture, I'll definitely tear you to pieces. Emperor Ying's eyes burned with fury and killing intent. Inside the imperial tomb in the void world, resurrected corpses formed a mighty army. They followed the auras of life and chased after human cultivators. Those who entered the imperial tomb were all experts from various powers. There was no lack of elders among them. However, they had all become stray dogs here. There were just too many resurrected corpses. They couldn't kill them all, and they were also very difficult to kill. Adding on the fact that they were affected by the death chi and evil chi, their cultivation bases were suppressed. In just a short time, more than half of the cultivators had become food for the resurrected corpses. Their cultivation bases, physical essence, and even life force were all devoured until not even a speck was left. A portion of the powerful experts killed their way to the exit. Who knew? The exit was actually sealed from the outside, and the void world became a hopeless place. Divine Billow Nation's imperial tomb. Experts gathered on the mountain peak. Even in the sky, there were many experts flying in the air. In front of the towering tombstone, there were experts guarding it. These experts were divided into 2 groups. One group was from the clear skies myriad scroll door and the constellation of 9 heavens. The other group was from the Tranquility Emperor's residence, Tian Dao Immortal Realm, and Huoyin Shinrikyo. This time, the clear skies myriad scroll door had mobilized 3 grand elders, hundreds of elders, and special disciples. It could be said that they had mobilized the sect's elite forces. The constellation of 9 heavens had come in a hurry, so their strength was relatively weak. They were led by a grand elder, Yuling Tian, Outyin Chanhen, and other elders, as well as some special disciples, Huang Fufei, Li Tianqi, Lian Chongxian, and others were also among them. A grand elder of the clear skies myriad scroll door suddenly said, I heard that special disciple Su Fong received a mission from the sect to quell the rebellion of the demonic cultivators in the divine Billow immortal realm. At this time, there's no trace of him. The divine Billow Nation's capital is almost in ruins, and the land is almost occupied by the demonic cultivators. This kid didn't even report back to the sect. The person who spoke to reprimand Su Fong was Gu Huajun's master. The matter of the 1,000 illusion star fire had shaken the clear skies myriad scroll door. Because of the dual cultivation ceremony, it was suppressed by the sect. The cause of this matter was that someone had touched the ancient cauldron of the artifact refining hall and opened its seal. After some investigation, he finally found out that Gu Huajun's master had taken the badge to open the weapon cauldron cave dwelling from the first elder of the weapon crafting dojo, causing him to be in a difficult situation. In the end, He had to push the blame to Gu Huajun and Ning Zishuan to clear his name. Gu Huajun had disappeared without a trace, and Ning Zishuan's whereabouts were unknown. Even Gu Yong, who had been sent by the Gu family to silence them, had disappeared without a trace. In the end, it was all because Gu Huajun had wanted to kill Su Fong. Although Gu Huajun's master didn't dare to confirm that Su Fong had done it, he still put all the blame on Su Fong. The divine billow immortal realm was within the clear skies myriad scroll door sphere of influence. Although they didn't attach much importance to it, now that such a huge mess had occurred, the entire sect would definitely lose face. Moreover, the devil sealing imperial heavenly seal was also involved. Even the sect's leader had been alarmed. At this moment, the imperial mausoleum was in chaos. The devil sealing imperial heavenly seal's whereabouts were unknown, and they didn't know who had it in the end. These higher-ups definitely had to come out and take responsibility. Since Gu Huajun's master had put all the blame on Su Fong, naturally no one would raise any objections. It could be considered a tacit approval. A cold voice suddenly rang out. Su Fong's current situation is unknown, but you're pushing all the blame on him? Isn't that disappointing? Whoosh, a figure was heading straight for them. She was wearing the robes of a special disciple of the clear skies myriad scroll door. Her body emitted a cold and empty aura. She wore a white jade mask on her face. It was the number 1 fairy of the clear skies myriad scroll door. Fairy Xuanxin, her sharp gaze swept over the Grand Elders. Fairy Xuanxin coldly said, I don't care how chaotic the divine billow immortal realm is, but I definitely won't allow you to push all the blame onto my Dao companion. The 3 Grand Elders were embarrassed. Gu Huajun's master's face was even redder. With Fairy Xuanxin's status and strength, of course, she didn't have the qualifications to challenge the Grand Elders. However, behind her stood a peerless expert. Xianin Tian wasn't an ordinary Grand Elder. His strength was unfathomable. It was said that he had crossed the mid-level of the immortal realm a long time ago. The leader of the clear skies myriad scroll door relied heavily on him. More serious matters have yet to come. Everyone, take a look. Fairy Xuanxin suddenly sent out a rune talisman, which landed in the hands of one of the Grand Elders. He split a portion of his consciousness and scanned the rune talisman. His expression changed greatly. After the other 2 Grand Elders saw it, they sent it to the Grand Elder of the constellation of 9 heavens. Everyone was shocked when they saw the information in the rune talisman. So it turned out during this time, Fairy Xuanxin had been lurking outside the chaotic abyss where the camp of the Devil World's experts was located. It wasn't until recently that she finally got to the bottom of the matter. She even fought with the Devil Race experts and almost couldn't escape. After learning about the divine billow immortal realm, she hurried over. The Devil Race had infiltrated the immortal realm, secretly destroyed sects, and kidnapped female cultivators. This was a major event that affected the entire great immortal realm. Once it was made public, it would definitely cause an uproar. The higher-ups of the 2 great sects didn't dare to be careless or act on their own. They hurriedly sent experts back to their sects to report. Among the cultivators in the air, a man as handsome as a woman's eyes lit up the moment Fairy Xuanxin appeared. If I use this human female cultivator to cultivate, it will definitely help me recover most of my strength. It turned out that the Devil Race expert had been seriously injured by Night Demon and Emperor Ing and had escaped from the Imperial tombs. Because the demon-sealing Emperor's heavenly seal was also important to the Devil Race, he hadn't left and had been guarding the Imperial tombs all this time. 3 months later, in the tomb, blood gushed out as Su Fong's body returned to its original state. So it turned out, the Heavenly Dipper creation cauldron had refined the seal, and his second primordial spirit had also successfully merged with it. This seal was personally refined by the Lord of the Dark Realm and merged with his second primordial spirit. The damage caused by the battle with Night Demon had been completely healed, and the power of his primordial spirit had increased by quite a bit. It had reached an astonishing level where it could suppress a supreme immortal emperor. During these 3 months of cultivation, Su Fong's primordial spirit had also recovered a bit. With the help of the Ice Soul Blood fetus, he had regained some vigor. Boom! A loud noise came from the tomb not far away. The first emperor of the divine water nation had been resurrected. Roar! A strange roar sounded. Rumble! The earth shook and the mountains shook. The seals inside and outside the tomb were instantly broken. The entire tomb was covered with cracks from the inside to the outside, like a spider web. Su Fong was shocked and hurried out of the tomb. He saw a figure pass through the wall of the tomb. Stones flew everywhere, and the tomb almost collapsed. That's the resurrected first emperor of the divine water nation. The first emperor of the divine water nation didn't look like a corpse that had just been resurrected. He didn't look much different from an ordinary person, and his appearance was also very ordinary. However, his face was as pale as paper, his strange and eerie blood-red eyes, and his entire body was emitting an extremely dense aura of death. It also contained a supreme, domineering aura that only a peerless emperor would have. Hiss! The first emperor of the divine water nation took a deep breath. The death aura that filled the tomb surged towards him and was sucked into his stomach. The gray Xian Guang on his body flickered and condensed into a gray corpse robe. At this moment, the first emperor of the divine water nation was like a death god, exuding death and supreme domineering aura. He was mighty and eerie. What an immortal emperor's resurrected corpse! Su Fong was shocked and couldn't help but swallow his saliva. At this moment, a voice came from the depths of his body. Don't be happy too early. The corpse of an immortal emperor isn't that easy to possess. Sensing the life aura on Su Fong's body, the first emperor of the divine wave nation's eyes lit up with a blood-red light. He took a step forward, and with a shocking aura, he actually arrived 3 meters away from Su Fong. Chapter 1224. Whoosh! Su Fong's feet stepped on the trail of flames as he executed the fire cloud steps to avoid the first emperor of the divine wave nation's fierce attack. His body staggered from the astral winds that carried the aura of death. That was close. He was about to release his second primordial spirit. Roar! A sinister roar rang out, causing the air to explode as it swept towards them. Su Fong had nowhere to hide in the tomb's passageway, so he was sent flying by the sound wave. What was even stranger was that the sound actually contained a strange power that caused Su Fong's cultivation, true qi, and life aura to weaken at an unimaginable rate. At the same time, his voice carried a strand of the evil intent of death and decay, and he intended to make Su Fong's soul core collapse. It's just a corpse. How can it have such a terrifying attack? Su Fong was terrified. Whoosh! Whoosh! He released 5 resurrected corpses under Su Fong's control. Each of them had the strength of an elder. Under the control of Su Fong's consciousness, the 5 corpses charged at the first emperor. But just as they got close, the first emperor took a deep breath, and waves of death aura shot out from the heads of the 5 corpses and into his mouth, becoming his nourishment. As for the 5 powerful corpses, they turned into shriveled corpses that fell to the ground. They couldn't be any more dead. It can even devour the remnant will and death aura of resurrected cultivators. Su Fong was dumbfounded. Without hesitation, he ignited his flaming cloud wings and flew away. After escaping to the main hall of the tomb's underground palace, the weakened state brought about by the first emperor's roar finally disappeared. Su Fong's true qi and life aura had been weakened by at least 1 level. Cold sweat dripped down his back. A voice came from the depths of his body. This is an instinctive attack of resurrected cultivators. It explodes the evil will and death aura in their body with sound. It can also be considered a divine ability. It's very similar to the death roar of evil Tao cultivators. It can cause cultivators to fall into a weakened state. And this is just the beginning. The resurrection of an immortal emperor is much more powerful than the corpses of those elders. In the blink of an eye, the resurrected first emperor of the divine wave nation caught up with him. He opened his mouth and spat out black corpse poison. Sizzle, the corpse poison billowed and spread out, covering an area of 300 feet around the underground palace, turning it into a domain filled with corpse poison. His skin was being corroded, and his life aura was quickly fading away. Normally, when a corpse was resurrected, it would at most spit out corpse poison and form an attack. However, the first emperor of the Divine Wave Nation was able to transform the corpse poison into a mystical ability that was equivalent to a domain. Not only was the poison domain shockingly corrosive, but it was also able to devour a person's life force. It was truly terrifying. Fortunately, Su Fong had ghouls that could devour all kinds of poison. The corpse poison domain, which was enough to kill a great elder, only caused him some trouble. The first emperor of the Divine Wave Nation suddenly released a shocking divine might. In an instant, the entire chamber was enveloped by the aura of death. It was as if it could cause all living things in the world to wither away. It was somewhat similar to the divine aura of a human expert, but it was the divine aura of death. The first emperor was the god of death that ruled over death. He was extremely mighty, domineering, and terrifying to the extreme. The pure yang primordial fire in Su Fong's body burned brightly. Unparalleled divine might exploded, shattering the deathly aura that was shackling his body. The power of pure yang was the most domineering power of pure yang. It could refine all kind of evil aura. It could also restrain the first emperor's divine aura of death. Sensing the pure yang aura on Su Fong's body, the first emperor's rigid face revealed a fearful and excited expression. He raised his right hand, and the surrounding deathly aura quickly gathered above Su Fong's head. It transformed into a giant palm that carried with it a deathly aura. It formed a shackle. The attack was swift and fierce, and the second essence soul couldn't even react in time. Giant diamond body chuckle. After forming the seal, Su Fong's body released the power of the world of yin and yang that contained divinity. His body flashed with a dazzling golden electric current. His muscles and bones suddenly expanded, causing Su Fong to instantly transform into a huge monster that was nearly 5 zhang tall. His head almost touched the dome of the underground palace. A golden robe appeared around his body. It was covered with golden Dao marks and exuded an ancient pure yang aura. It was extremely mysterious. Then it stuck tightly to his body. The first emperor's palm pressed down. Boom! A powerful aura pressed down on Su Fong. It was like the hand of the god of death was about to smash Su Fong into a pulp. Clang! Herculean divine palm, his arms shook as he slapped out 2 giant golden palm prints in the air. They shattered the first emperor's explosive aura. One of the palm prints hit the first emperor's body and sent him flying. He smashed into the incomparably hard stone wall of the tomb. This was the Herculean divine palm. It was extremely powerful. However, Su Fong had consumed a lot of energy after using this powerful attack. It was difficult for him to use a second time. Inside the cauldron of void dust, the experts and Big Goblin saw this scene through Su Fong's vision. They were all extremely shocked. The other party was an immortal emperor-level, resurrected cultivator. Yet, he was sent flying with a single slap. Even if the Big Goblin had a powerful physical body, he would probably lose a layer of skin if he didn't die from this attack. A mystic immortal cultivator can actually use such a terrifying divine ability. Lord Balmo's face was pale and full of shock. The Vermilion Emperor snickered. I purposely showed you my master's supreme divine might because I want you to know that my master isn't an ordinary cultivator. He's only at the Xian immortal realm, and he's already so powerful. He can easily kill you with a slap. Once he reaches the feather immortal realm or world immortal realm, even an immortal emperor won't be a problem. He asked you to submit to him, yet you still feel wronged. Lord Ba Mo's eyes were full of reverence. He no longer had the supreme arrogance of a heavenly Devil Mountain powerhouse. Outside the tomb, hearing the commotion in the tomb and sensing the terrifying divine might of death, the immortal emperor-level expert emperor couldn't help but tremble. He quickly left the tomb and retreated to the mountain peak. Su Fong has the means to conceal his aura. It shouldn't be difficult for him to escape from the resurrected first emperor of the Divine Wave Nation. Even if he is devoured by the corpse emperor, I can still get the ethereal enlightenment from him. Emperor Ing was afraid that Su Fong would die in the tomb. He stared at the mountain peak without blinking. Whoosh! Whoosh! The first emperor's corpse bounced out of the rubble. The divine might of the Titan palm had caused him quite a bit of damage. The resurrected first emperor of the divine wave nation is simply too powerful. He's definitely not someone I can face head-on. Su Fong was shocked. Now that he finally had a chance to catch his breath, a black Xian Guang appeared in his eyes. Whoosh! His second primordial spirit traveled through the void and appeared between the first emperor's eyebrows. But just as it touched his forehead and was about to enter his divine aperture, it was blocked by a powerful and incomparably evil intent. It couldn't enter the sea of divine apertures for a moment. Clang! A deathly gray light suddenly swept out from the first emperor's eyes, forming a deathly divine might. It collided with the imprint that the second soul resided in, and it actually sent the second soul flying. The space in front of the first soul was filled with shattered astral chi. What's going on? Su Fong was surprised. Law said from within his body, the first emperor of the divine wave nation was extremely powerful when he was alive. Even among immortal emperors, he could be considered extremely powerful. In addition, after his death, the remnant intent in the sea of divine apertures was affected by the evil aura. It was both evil and powerful, much more powerful than an ordinary immortal emperor. If you want to possess him, you'll have to spend some effort. If I can't break through it directly, then I'll have to attack his body and his primordial spirit at the same time, said Su Fong domineeringly. Life's origin state with a single thought, the life source magical weapon, the black-yellow six paths pagoda, flew out from the crucible transformation stage with a whooshing sound and entered Su Fong's body. The next moment, the divine might immediately seeped into his flesh and blood, and even his true chi. One by one, the big goblin and experts poured their true chi and magic power into the Xianhuang Six Paths Pagoda. Through the fusion and explosion of their life treasures, they transferred it to Su Fong's body. As Su Fong's strength increased, the Xianhuang Six Paths Pagoda, the big goblin, and the expert's overall strength continued to increase. The process of Su Fong using his life treasure state was much faster than before. It was completed in an instant, and its power was several times stronger than before. At this time, Su Fong's strength was comparable to the first elder. Rumble! A fist landed on the first emperor's chest. His body staggered back, and his chest caved in. However, he was completely fine and recovered in an instant. Su Fong, however, was shaken and couldn't help but spit out a mouthful of blood. Luo laughed from the depths of his body. I've already warned you to be careful. This isn't an ordinary corpse, but an immortal emperor-level expert. This is the so-called corpse emperor. After resurrecting, his body is almost immortal. Other than your 9 yang true chi, your other attacks won't be able to cause much damage to him. The stronger the corpse emperor is, the more help he will be to me after I take over his body. I can't threaten his body, but can I threaten his divine aperture ocean? He directly shot out a black wheel, which instantly circled above the first emperor's head. Heavenly Devil Blood Plate buzz. The Heavenly Devil Blood Plate began to activate, and the Supreme Primordial Spirit's divine might covered the corpse emperor's body layer by layer. This move was immediately effective. The second primordial spirit also took the opportunity to attack, forcefully breaking through the corpse emperor's divine aperture ocean and entering it. Su Fong's original body also separated from the Yang Immortal, and with the help of the Heavenly Devil Blood Plate's divine might, entered the corpse emperor's divine aperture ocean. Inside the divine aperture ocean, a gray evil aura was rolling, and a dense aura of death filled the air. A divine might of death enveloped the entire divine aperture space. Even if it was an immortal emperor-level expert's Yang Immortal, they would be suppressed by the divine might of death, or even be corroded and rapidly withered. The immortal emperor-level corpse wasn't that easy to take over. A gray phantom wrapped in white fog floated above the divine aperture ocean. It was the first emperor's remnant consciousness after his death. With a roar, it swept up an evil and ruthless wave of consciousness, which swept towards the second primordial spirit. Kill! Kill! The second primordial spirit wasn't polite at all. It exploded with its primordial spirit's aura, crushing everything in its way. It easily crushed the opponent's primordial spirit's wave of consciousness. Immediately after, it stretched out its palm and held the remnant consciousness in its hand. With a light squeeze, it turned into ashes and slowly dissipated. This corpse emperor's strength was too strong. It was obviously impossible to use the ordinary method of reviving a corpse. It couldn't use much of its strength, and it couldn't be controlled by a single consciousness. It could only be possessed by the second primordial spirit. Only a powerful second primordial spirit could completely use the corpse emperor's full strength. The corpse emperor, who was overflowing with ferocity just now, stood there motionlessly. Only now did it look a little bit like a corpse. Looking at the corpse, Su Fangda swallowed a mouthful of saliva. This was a supreme immortal emperor-level expert with powerful combat strength. Su Fang even felt like he was a nouveau riche. This time, he finally trembled. A voice came from the depths of Luo's body. Su Fang, with this corpse, you have the strength to contend against an immortal emperor expert. Your luck is really enviable. Su Fang used his fist to punch the chest of the revived Divine Wave Nation's first emperor. He chuckled and was very excited. Second primordial spirit living in the body of a corpse emperor. It feels good, right? Chapter 1225. The second primordial spirit said coldly, "The immortal emperor of the tranquil emperor mansion is no match for me." Then it said in an incomparably arrogant voice, "But compared to the power of my primordial spirit, this body is still relatively weak. I can live in it temporarily, but when you become stronger in the future, I'm afraid you'll be eliminated." Immortal Emperor. It was not enough. The powerful second primordial spirit was so arrogant. Su Fang replied, "Don't worry about that. Wait until we find that Supreme Master's body at the God Burial Enclosure and use the evil sealing Heavenly Seal to break the seal. Then, you will have the body of Immortal Emperor Yu as your host. But the body of the Emperor of the Divine Wave Nation is a corpse emperor after all. It's a waste." Law spoke again. The second primordial spirit is right. Although this corpse emperor is very powerful, it's not a long-term solution. Your goal is the Immortal Emperor and the Supreme Masters above Immortal Emperor Yu. But this body won't be wasted. You can refine it into a corpse puppet. Even without the second primordial spirit's control, it can still be a powerful helper. Corpse puppet. In ancient times, there was a sect called the Corpse Refining Sect. They specialized in refining the bodies of some powerful cultivators into powerful corpse puppets. Unlike resurrected cultivators, corpse puppets are not only powerful, but also can become more powerful as their masters advance. Because this sect was too evil, it was later destroyed by the righteous cultivators. Law, aren't you talking nonsense? How can it be nonsense? Have you forgotten? You could try transplanting the immortal blood spirit of the Yellow Spring Great Emperor into a resurrected cultivator. This way, you can avoid the punishment of the heavenly Tao and have a powerful corpse. Immortal blood spirit. It was based on a forbidden physical technique of the Yellow Spring Blood Sea and used various spiritual objects, forbidden spells, and life body abhijna. It was a kind of body for rebirth. The cultivator's primordial spirit consciousness could be transferred, possessed, devoured, and fused into the body of the immortal blood spirit. As soon as the immortal blood spirit appeared, it would be sensed by the will of heaven and earth and be punished by the heavenly Tao. Therefore, Su Fang did not dare to refine the immortal blood spirit. According to law, if he transplanted the created immortal blood spirit into a resurrected corpse and fused the two, not only could he perfectly activate the resurrected corpse, but he could also avoid the punishment of the heavenly Tao. It seemed feasible after a long time. Once the will of the heavenly Tao senses the creation of the immortal blood spirit, I will be doomed eternally. Therefore, I need to be extremely careful in this matter. Moreover, I don't have the strength to do so, and I haven't reached the level of the Yellow Springs Blood Sea yet. We can first capture some resurrected corpses and slowly study them thoroughly. After ensuring that nothing goes wrong, we can make some more attempts. Then, he sent a sound transmission to Wooling Goblin, who is currently recuperating in the Crucible transformation space. Wooling Goblin, how is your recovery going? Can you take me to the mountain peak? Wooling Goblin replied, although I haven't fully recovered, it's still a piece of cake for me to bring Master out. Very good. Next, it's time to take care of Emperor Ing. Su Fong's eyes were cold as he curled his lips into a smile filled with murderous intent. At this moment, Su Fong was no longer afraid of immortal emperors. He even had the strength to kill them. In midair, Emperor Ing looked down at the mountain peak below. Resurrected corpses were constantly rushing over. Emperor Ing released the astonishing divine might of an immortal emperor expert, knocking the resurrected corpses back and shattering them. Sensing that there was no longer any movement in the mountain peak, he couldn't help but feel a little surprised. He was about to enter the tomb again. A figure appeared on top of the mountain peak. Su Fong, he actually came out alive. Emperor Ying's eyes immediately burned with excitement, as if he saw a bird that had escaped from a net reappear in the net. Su Fong, Emperor Ying leaped across the sky, and a powerful divine might instantly enveloped Su Fong's body. He was like a high and mighty emperor overlooking a tiny ant. For the true ethereal enlightenment, Lord Emperor Ing is really persistent. Su Fong was fearless and instead mocked. A puny, profound, immortal almost escaped from my hands. You are really extraordinary. However, if you want to look down on me with this little trick, you are far from qualified. This time, I won't give you any chance. Emperor Ing showed disdain, and his eyes were filled with disdain. Then his bright eyes swept over Su Fong, and his gaze fell on Su Fong's aged face and white hair. To be able to conceal your aura and make it difficult for me to sense, you must have mastered a forbidden technique and paid a heavy price for it. Hand over everything you have, including the true ethereal enlightenment and the forbidden technique to conceal your aura, and I won't make things difficult for you. I can even spare your life. Should I thank Lord Emperor Ying's mercy? I, Su Fong, can't control my life except for myself. Not only you, Emperor Ing, but also Emperor Ning. If you want to take everything from me, let's see if you have the qualifications to do so. As soon as the clanging voice fell, a powerful aura suddenly erupted from Su Fong's body. The Emperor Qi combined with the purple Qi spirit formed a supreme, domineering aura that seemed to drive the will of the divine billow immortal world to explode, shattering the shackles of Emperor Ying's divine might. At the same time, the poison talismans that had been prepared long ago exploded like raindrops, causing a huge explosion that swept towards Emperor Ing. Then he suddenly spat out circles of blood poison, which transformed into various attack forms, like a sword tide or a billowing cloud of poison. Then he used the fire cloud steps and the fire cloud wings to quickly fly out of the mountain and escape towards the valley below. Using these insignificant skills in front of me again, isn't it ridiculous? Emperor Ing sneered disdainfully. Step by step, with the momentum of a tiger, he broke the circles of blood poison and poison gas. Then he stretched out his right hand and fiercely grabbed at Su Fong. Suddenly, a figure suddenly rushed out from a cave in the cliff. He paused in the air for a moment, then opened his mouth and spat out a stream of corpse poison. In an instant, the void seemed to be contaminated by the poison, turning into a corpse poison domain. The corpse poison changed into various forms like a tide and attacked Emperor Ing fiercely. It turned out that the corpse emperor, who was controlled by the second primordial spirit, had been hiding inside the Wooling Goblin in a narrow cave in the cliff. Emperor Ying's attention was completely focused on Su Fong, so he didn't notice it at all. It was only now that the Wooling Goblin suddenly spat out the corpse emperor and suddenly attacked Emperor Ing, the resurrected emperor of the divine water nation. Emperor Ing cried out involuntarily. He was incomparably shocked, but he would never associate this corpse emperor in front of him with Su Fong. He activated his supreme, domineering aura, and his aura exploded, shattering the surrounding corpse poison. But then, the corpse emperor opened his mouth and let out an earth-shattering roar. The rolling sound waves swept over Emperor Ing, causing his life force to weaken a little. The strong emperor's aura was also weakened a little. The attacks on Emperor Ing came wave after wave. The emperor of the divine water nation, who had been possessed by the second primordial spirit, suddenly had a strange, twisted gray light in his eyes. It turned out that the second primordial spirit had taken the opportunity to release a supreme divine power. How can a resurrected corpse have the power of a primordial spirit attack? At that moment, Emperor Ing felt as if a torrential flood had rushed into his divine aperture ocean. It wanted to devour his young immortal, kill him, and destroy his divine aperture ocean. So what if it's a primordial spirit attack? It still can't do anything to me. Suddenly, a shining golden armor appeared on Emperor Ying's young immortal. It released a shocking primordial spirit aura, shattering the divine power of the second primordial spirit that had rushed into his divine aperture ocean. Emperor Ing, who had returned to his normal state, charged out. He gathered the power of this space with his fist, and with his supreme, domineering aura, he bombarded the corpse emperor. Emperor's fist, boundless divine power. The corpse emperor raised his right hand, and the surrounding death chi quickly condensed on his fist. It carried a shocking aura of death and a strong sense of death and decay. Boom, boom, boom. The two peerless immortal emperors clashed, and their auras collided and their seals exploded. The corpse emperor was sent flying and smashed into a mountain peak. Rocks shattered and the earth shook. Emperor Ying's body shot out like a sharp arrow. He flew into the air before stabilizing his body. His right hand was corroded by corpse poison, and his entire right arm was covered in a layer of gray death chi. This time, not only was his primordial spirit injured, but his physical body was also heavily injured. A resurrected immortal emperor is actually so powerful. He even has a primordial spirit attack. It's really unbelievable. Emperor Ing was extremely shocked. He looked down at the valley below, but Su Fong was nowhere to be seen. He couldn't sense his aura either. He didn't know if he was alive or dead. Su Fong has a forbidden technique that can conceal his aura. He might be able to escape the corpse emperor's pursuit. However, if he stays in the void world inside the imperial mausoleum, he won't be able to escape death. Anyway, Emperor Ning's residents will sweep through the constellation of 9 heavens sooner or later and obtain the ethereal true enlightenment. There's no need for me to take the risk and stay here. It's just a pity that I don't know where the demon sealing emperor's heavenly seal is. Emperor Ing immediately turned around and broke through the sky, disappearing in an instant. Although resurrected cultivators also had the ability to fly to a certain extent, their biggest flaw was speed. Seeing Emperor Ing, the second primordial spirit prepared to chase after him. However, Su Fong came from the valley below. Second primordial spirit, don't chase after him. I can't kill him. Damn it. The second primordial spirit spat out a cold breath. Su Fong also didn't expect Emperor Ing to be able to escape from the second primordial spirit's supreme primordial spirit attack. Second primordial spirit, what happened just now? The second primordial spirit said unwillingly, I originally planned to use my primordial spirit's divine power to control him directly. Who knew that there would be a supreme artifact in his divine aperture ocean that could defend against primordial spirit attacks? That's why I failed and let him escape. Su Fong raised his eyebrows. A supreme artifact that can defend against primordial spirit attacks. How could Emperor Ing have such a treasure? The blood jade in Luo's body said, although primordial spirit-type Taoist artifacts are rare, they still exist. You have the heavenly devil blood plate. Emperor Ing comes from Emperor Ning's mansion and has a strong foundation. Besides, he is a master at the immortal emperor realm. What's so strange about him having a supreme artifact that can defend against primordial spirit attacks? Emperor Ning was famous all over the world millions of years ago. Emperor Ning's mansion was the most powerful among the countless forces in the Xianao Great World. The foundation of Emperor Ning's mansion was so deep that it was beyond Su Fang's imagination. They had all kinds of Taoist artifacts. Emperor Ing was one of the few masters at the immortal Emperor realm in Emperor Ning's mansion. It was not strange at all that Emperor Ning gave him a supreme artifact that could defend against primordial spirit attacks. Su Fang was also very unwilling. Emperor Ing escaped just like that. I'm really unwilling. Luo thundered. Su Fang, don't think that you're invincible just because you have the second primordial spirit. You can have a magic treasure that defies the natural order, but so can others. However, you don't have the foundation of Emperor Ning's mansion and the heavenly law immortal realm. Compared to them, you're far from being strong. You're just too arrogant. Su Fang suddenly became alert. He had indeed underestimated his opponent after a series of smooth-sailing battles. Emperor Ing is a decisive person. When he saw that he was no match for him, he turned around and ran away without hesitation. He's not someone who can be easily dealt with. If you want to deal with him in the future, you have to plan well. The next time we meet, he won't be able to escape so easily. Let's leave him alone, suppress some powerful resurrected corpses, and then leave here. The corpse emperor led the way in front. Su Fang went straight to the place where the resurrected corpses were concentrated. Chapter 1226. Divine Wave Nation's Imperial Mausoleum. To prevent the resurrected corpses from escaping, the clear skies, Thousand Scrolls Gate, and the constellation of 9 heavens worked together to seal the entrance to the Imperial Mausoleum. Many cultivators from various forces who had entered the Imperial Mausoleum were trapped in the Imperial Mausoleum. Their respective forces demanded that the two sects immediately open the entrance and rescue them. Their true intention was naturally to get the demon-sealing Emperor's heavenly seal. Just as they were arguing, boom, the seal at the entrance suddenly shattered. Even the huge tombstone that suppressed the Imperial Mausoleum was shattered. A figure rushed out from within. The cultivators on the Imperial Mausoleum and in the air above were all shocked. The barrier at the entrance was created by the combined efforts of the two sects' Grand Elders. Even the Grand Elders would find it difficult to break the seal from the inside. When they saw the person's appearance and the Supreme Ruler's aura, the surroundings fell silent. Emperor Ning's residence. However, at this moment, Emperor Ing looked very haggard. He was injured and looked like he was running for his life. Who could hurt his supreme, immortal emperor? Emperor Ying's eyes flashed coldly. The surrounding experts all bowed their heads under the pressure of the ruler's aura. The weaker ones even knelt on the ground. It turned out that Emperor Ing wanted to vent his anger and resentment from almost being killed by the corpse emperor in the void world inside the Imperial Mausoleum on these people. Lord Emperor Ing, may I ask if you have the demon-sealing emperor's heavenly seal? A Grand Elder of the clear skies, Thousand Scrolls Gate, asked in a trembling voice. Although he was afraid of Emperor Ying's strength, he had to ask about the demon-sealing emperor's heavenly seal. Swish, 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 swish. Everyone looked at Emperor Ing with burning eyes. If the demon-sealing emperor's heavenly seal is really in my hands, do you still plan to attack me? Emperor Ing said in a majestic voice. However, not everyone was afraid of him. For the demon-sealing emperor's heavenly seal, there was nothing they wouldn't dare to do. Although the immortal emperor was powerful, there were tens of thousands of experts here. The demon-sealing emperor's heavenly seal is still inside the imperial tomb. It has not fallen into my hands. Whether you believe it or not, I don't care to explain it to you. Emperor Ying's voice was full of dominance. Obviously, he didn't want to invite trouble for no reason. The Ying Emperor glanced at the higher-ups of the clear skies scroll door and the constellation of 9 heavens. Then, he said coldly, the special disciple of your two sects, Su Fang, is currently in the Imperial Mausoleum. If you're too late to rescue him, he'll lose his life. When did Su Fang go inside? Although his strength is extraordinary, how can he survive against an army of reanimated corpses? The people from the two sects were in an uproar. Huang Fufei, Li Qianxi, and the other special disciples of Star Palace were shocked, and they were gloating. Go! Emperor Ing flew away with the experts of Emperor Ning's mansion who were waiting outside. Before he left, a trace of complacency flashed in his eyes. As it turned out, he intentionally leaked Su Fang's whereabouts so that the two great sects could go in and rescue them. Facing an army of tens of thousands of resurrected corpses, even an immortal emperor expert like him would have a headache. As long as the experts of the two sects entered, they would definitely not be able to return. He would not let go of any opportunity to weaken the strength of the two great forces. Emperor Ying was a cunning and ruthless person. Save or no, if they went in to rescue him, they would definitely suffer heavy losses. If they didn't rescue him, the other disciples would be bitterly disappointed. Su Fang's identity was special, so they wouldn't be able to explain it to the sect. The clear skies, myriad scrolls door, and the higher-ups of the constellation of 9 heavens were caught in a dilemma. Just then, whoosh, whoosh, one by one, figures with a strong aura of death charged out from the broken seals. What are you waiting for? Kill the revived corpse and reseal the entrance. The experts of the two sects made their moves one after another. Among the corpses that rushed out, there was a member of the Divine Billow Nation's royal family whose strength was comparable to the Grand Elders. He was incomparably valiant, and the Grand Elders of the two sects had to work together to kill him. Caught off guard, more than a dozen sect disciples were injured by the corpse poison. It was a tragic sight. They resealed the entrance. The situation in the void realm inside the Imperial Mausoleum is far more serious than we imagined. Even if we go in, we won't be able to return. The lives of the sect's experts will be lost. It's better to wait for the sect's reinforcements and then slowly deal with it, Gu Huajun's master said in a low voice. The other higher-ups nodded in agreement. After experiencing the scene just now, the experts of the other forces also realized how terrible the situation inside was. They completely gave up on entering the Imperial Mausoleum to search for the demon-sealing Emperor's heavenly seal. Fairy Xuanxin. In her mind, the scene of Su Fang challenging Yin Sanxin at the Azure Cloud Platform's banquet hall flashed past. In order to eliminate the hatred in my heart, he dared to step forward and challenge Yin Sanxin. He made a blood oath to fight. Now that he's in danger, why am I so timid and not saving him? I'm going to the Imperial Mausoleum to save Su Fang, to have no regrets in my heart, and to kill Luo Sha. Her eyes flashed with determination. Fairy Xuanxin suddenly said, "Reopen the seal and let me in." Absolutely not. The higher-ups of the clear skies, Thousand Scrolls door were shocked and stunned. Then they all objected. Fairy Xuanxin's cold eyes were filled with determination. Su Fang is my Dao companion. I can't leave him in the lurch. I've made up my mind. Please reopen the seal. I'll go with you, Fairy. A clanging voice suddenly sounded. It turned out to be Ao Tian Chang'an. Fairy Xuanxin was so insistent. With Ao Tian Chang'an accompanying her, the higher-ups of the two major sects had no choice but to agree. The seal was reopened. Fairy Xuanxin was the first to enter. Ao Tian Chang'an brought his 2 disciples, Hind Buhui and Jun Bujian, and followed closely behind. There was a commotion on the Imperial Mausoleum Mountain. Some said that Su Fang was unlucky. Some sighed that Fairy Xuanxin was going to die. Many people also mocked them for being stupid. In the void realm inside the Imperial Mausoleum, wherever the zombie emperor went, he was invincible. When he encountered a powerful resurrected corpse, he would first let his second essence soul subdue it. Then he would store it in the Yellow Spring Great Emperor bottle and make it a part of Su Fang's overall strength. Su Fang also did not let those weaker ones go. He let his second essence soul directly wipe out their remnant thoughts and store their corpses. These resurrected emperors and royalty of the Divine Wave Nation. Not only could they be used as materials to refine corpse puppets, but they could also be used to refine death chi. After refining it with the 9-yang true chi, it would be transformed into pure yin chi for his second essence soul to cultivate. In the Yellow Spring Great Emperor bottle, other than the tens of thousands of commanders, there was an additional army of resurrected cultivators. Of course, other than those corpses with their remnant thoughts wiped out, there were not many resurrected corpses under Su Fang's control. There were less than 1,000 of them. However, their strength was not to be underestimated. Every resurrected corpse had the strength of a mystic immortal cultivator. There were more than 20 elders and as many as 3 grand elders. As long as Su Fong raised his arm and shouted, he would be able to wipe out an extraordinary force, just as he was happily suppressing and collecting the resurrected cultivators. Suddenly, some Tao runes from the heavenly secret life shrinking technique appeared in his mind. Su Fong analyzed the aura of the Tao runes and was surprised. Fairy Xuanxin, Outyin Chang'en, why are they here? He released his perfection stage ability to sense. After settling down for a while, Su Fong spoke with his essence soul. Second essence soul, go and rescue them immediately. Yes. Whoosh, the corpse monarch controlled by his second essence soul, took a step forward and covered a distance of a few miles. Fairy Xuanxin, Outyin Chang'en, Hin Buhui, and Jun Bujian were flying in the air with difficulty. From time to time, resurrected corpses would charge at them from the ground. There were also countless corpses that spewed out waves of corpse poison, which almost drowned the 4 of them. There were also many powerful corpses in the sky that attacked the 4 of them fiercely. Outyin Chang'en activated his Dharma treasure to defend himself and barely resisted the corpse poison. On the other hand, Fairy Xuanxin's white dress fluttered in the wind. Her eyes were filled with bone-chilling coldness. She activated a flying sword and a casual sword chi that contained all kinds of complicated sword formations and sword intents killed the corpses that charged at her. Outyin Chang'en's 2 disciples were relatively weak. Hin Buhui was poisoned, and Jun Bujian was injured by the resurrected corpses. Their bodies were filled with death chi, and their injuries were very serious. The death chi in the void realm was very strong, and it suppressed their cultivation. Even their minds were affected, and they could not hold on for too long. The 4 of them retreated as they fought. In the end, Fairy Xuanxin and Outyin Chang'en had no choice but to bring the injured siblings to a nearby mountain peak. Looking at the army of resurrected cultivators below the mountain and in the sky, the 4 of them felt their scalps go numb. Even the calm Fairy Xuanxin's eyes were filled with despair. The situation was far more serious than they had imagined. They could not even protect themselves, let alone save them. Fairy Xuanxin smoothed her messy hair and said coldly, Senior Outyin, Xuanxin is the one who dragged you down. Outyin Chang'en laughed heartily. Even if you didn't come in to save Su Fong, I would have come in anyway. Outyin Chang'en, can't just stand by and watch the disciples of my sect get into trouble and not help them. One should live without regrets. Otherwise, what's the point of living? Moreover, Su Fong and I are very close. Fairy Xuanxin sighed softly. Looking at the current situation, Su Fong might have already fallen. Outyin Chang'en went silent as well. Even he was unable to protect himself in such a situation, let alone a cultivator at the mysterious, immortal realm like Su Fong. No matter how extraordinary Su Fong was, he could only walk the path of death. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The densely packed, resurrected corpses were like dark clouds as they rushed down the mountain. The people below the mountain surged and rushed up the mountain. Fairy Xuanxin closed her eyes. A man's figure appeared in her mind. A smile that came from the bottom of her heart appeared at the corner of her mouth. Only now did Fairy Xuanxin realize that she had already forgotten about Yin Sun Shin in the depths of her heart, but it had been taken over by another figure. She sighed in her heart. If there is reincarnation, then there will be a next life. I, Outyin Chang'en, have wronged you in this life. I will repay you tenfold in my next life. Outyin Chang'en let out a long roar filled with unwillingness. Suddenly, something strange happened. Roar. An earth-shattering roar came from afar. The roar contained an extremely dense aura of death and a supreme dominance that made the resurrected corpses submit. The resurrected corpses in the sky fell to the ground in droves. The resurrected corpses on the ground also trembled. That is, the 4 of them looked over in surprise. They saw a resurrected corpse wearing a gray corpse robe walking over from the sky. Wherever it went, It was like a king had arrived. The resurrected corpses all avoided it and bowed. Some of them could not avoid it in time and were directly trampled into meat paste. This is an immortal emperor's resurrected corpse, the corpse emperor, Out Yin Changhan exclaimed, his face full of disbelief. Fairy Xuanxin was also incomparably shocked. She muttered, "There is actually such a terrifying resurrected corpse in the imperial tomb. No wonder even Emperor Ying had to flee." "You came at the right time. Dying in the hands of such a supreme expert is better than dying in the hands of other corpses. To be able to fight an immortal emperor expert, I have no regrets even if I die." Out Yin Chang'an laughed loudly. Then, he leaped up and charged toward the corpse emperor without hesitation. Chapter 1227. The appearance of the incomparably powerful corpse emperor was shocking. In his despair, Ao Tian Changhen charged towards the corpse emperor solemnly. He wanted to make a last stand. Even if he died, he wanted to die with a bang. Fairy Xuanxin looked at the unyielding figure with reverence in her eyes. Hen Buhui and Jun Bujin saw Ao Tian Changhen as their father. When they saw the scene, they cried out in despair. Who knew? The corpse emperor, who was about 100 feet away from Ao Tian, suddenly released a wave of divine might that engulfed Ao Tian. Ao Tian Changhen was an elder of Star Palace's Ao Tian Peak. He was a peerless genius, but when faced with such a powerful corpse emperor, he was powerless. Then, the corpse emperor swept him back to the peak with a gust of death energy. Not only Ao Tian Changhen, Fairy Xuanxin, Hen Buhui, and Jun Bujin were all dumbfounded. What was going on? Then, the powerful corpse emperor opened his mouth and took a deep breath. The aura of death drifting in the surrounding space, as well as the aura of death emitted from the countless resurrected corpses, gathered together and turned into a gray cloud of death. The cloud rolled and whistled as it was swallowed by the corpse emperor. The resurrected cultivators whose death chi had been sucked away fell down like waves of wheat. What a valiant supreme corpse emperor. Oh, there was another roar. The corpse emperor was originally the first emperor of the divine wave nation. The other resurrected corpses were all his descendants. The remnant thoughts were instinctively afraid of him. Swoosh, swoosh. With a roar, as if they had heard the emperor's command, the densely packed resurrected corpses turned around and headed in another direction. In a few breaths' time, there were no more resurrected corpses around the mountain peak that Fairy Xuanxin was on and in the sky. The corpse emperor flew into the sky and quickly disappeared. On the mountain peak, the four of them had just escaped death. Their minds were blank. After a long silence, Hen Buhui said with a trembling voice, "Master, could it be that the powerful corpse emperor was scared away by your godly aura?" Fairy Xuanxin couldn't help but laugh. Ao Tian Changhen's face turned red as he glared at the talkative Hen Buhui. "Shut up. Don't you think your master has lost enough face?" Ao Tian Changhen couldn't help but feel ashamed and angry when he recalled how he had shouted that he wanted to reunite with Dai Yi in the next life. It was strange. He could not figure it out no matter how much he thought about it. Ao Tian Changhen looked at Fairy Xuanxin. "Fairy, are we still going to continue searching for Su Fong?" Fairy Xuanxin was also having a hard time making a decision. The void realm inside the Imperial Mausoleum was already a world of resurrected corpses. It was difficult for her to even protect herself, and the strange things just now would not keep happening. Moreover, the chances of Su Fong surviving were very slim. Hoo-hoo, a figure flew over on a flying sword, followed by a dozen or so resurrected corpses. Seeing this person, Fairy Xuanxin's eyes lit up. Ao Tian Chang hatefully rubbed his eyes a few times. That's right. The one being chased by the resurrected corpse is Su Fong. Uncanny, that's weird. Ao Tian Chang hatefully and Fairy Xuanxin rushed out from the mountain peak and easily dealt with a dozen or so resurrected corpses, saving Su Fong. They brought Su Fong back to the mountain peak. "Senior Ao Tan, Fairy Xuanxin, why are you here?" Su Fong looked surprised and happy. "When she heard that you were trapped here, Fairy Xuanxin immediately came over despite the danger. I also came over joining the fun, Ao Tianchong hatefully said with a smile. Then he secretly spoke with his primordial spirit. Xuanxin has feelings for you. Don't let her down like Yin Sanxin did in the future. Su Fong looked at goddess Xuanxin in surprise, and a warm feeling welled up in his heart. He was secretly proud of himself. It seemed that goddess Xuanxin still held him in high regard, even though he was her Taoist companion in name. Who knew? Fairy Xuanxin said coldly. Don't think too much. I came to save you because you know Rakshasa. I don't want to see you die. Su Fong felt like he had been doused with cold water. The blood jade in the depths of his body mocked. Su Fong, you think too highly of yourself. Your position in this girl's heart is much lower than Rakshas's. It doesn't feel good, right? Su Fong was very depressed. He had no position. They were Tao companions in name, but they had no position. Ao Tian Chong hatefully asked, Su Fong, there are resurrected corpses everywhere in the void of the Imperial Mausoleum. How did you survive until now? Fairy Xuanxin and Ao Tian Chong hatefully knew that Su Fong's strength was not ordinary. He was also a person who could challenge feather immortal experts. However, facing so many resurrected corpses, even the two of them could not protect themselves. Hen Buhui and Jun Bujian were also seriously injured. Yet, Su Fong was able to survive until now. It was a little strange. Su Fong had already thought of an excuse. Previously, in the desolate swamp astral realm, I was very lucky to obtain a forbidden technique. At the cost of burning one's life aura, one's own aura would be concealed. As long as I activated the forbidden technique, the resurrected corpses would not be able to sense my presence. That was why I was able to survive until now. However, I could not last for more than a few days. If I had not met you guys, I might have died just now. Forbidden technique. Fairy Xuanxin and Ao Tianchong hatefully believed him when they saw Su Fong's white hair and old face. Ao Tianchong hatefully sighed. Your luck is really extraordinary. Burning one's life aura will definitely affect one's future cultivation. It's best to use this forbidden technique less in the future. Fairy Xuanxin's tone was not as cold as before. Then, she gave Su Fong tens of thousands of Supreme Essence pills. Su Fong had no choice but to accept the pills. He smiled bitterly in his heart. Seeing that Hen Buhui had been poisoned, Su Fong hurriedly activated his Gui ability and sucked the corpse poison out of her body. However, with Fairy Xuanxin present, Su Fong did not dare to expose his pure yang aura. He helped Hen Buhui and Jun Buhui refine the death aura in their bodies. Ao Tianchong hatefully looked at Su Fong in a new light. Even Fairy Xuanxin was astonished. Su Fong then took out 1,000 yin-yang immortal sky pills. However, Ao Tianchong hatefully and Xuanxin were given Shanxiong pills. Hen Buhui and Jun Buhui were given Shanxiong pills. With these pills, it was easy for them to remove the death aura in their bodies. These pills, after swallowing a Shanxiong pill, Ao Tianchong hatefully felt the majestic medicinal power and unique medicinal effects. He was shocked. Fairy Xuanxin was also shocked. Her eyes flashed with a cold light. It was as if she wanted to see through Su Fong. It was obvious that she had found some clues from the pills. Su Fong felt gloomy and hurriedly explained, These pills were all given to me by that senior. Fairy, you've taken them before. Xuanxin finally dispelled her doubts. However, she did not reply to Su Fong. After consuming the yin-yang immortal sky pills, the four of them had recovered a lot. We cannot stay here for long. Let's leave, Fairy Xuanxin said coldly. She immediately rushed towards the exit. On the way back, Ao Tianchong hatefully and Xuanxin thought that they were going to experience another fierce battle. They were extremely nervous. Who knew? The entire journey was peaceful. Not a single resurrected corpse approached them. It was very strange. How could they know that an extremely powerful corpse sovereign was constantly hovering around them? How could any resurrected corpse dare to come within 5 kilometers of them? Phew! They finally reached the exit. Everyone let out a long sigh of relief. The other four of them felt that they had survived a disaster and were extremely lucky. As for Su Fong, when he recalled this experience, he felt that it was like a dream. It was extremely unreal. Ao Tian Chong hatefully took out the sect token and contacted the upper echelons of Star Palace. The seal at the exit was opened. Just as he was about to leave, Su Fong suddenly said, "Wait." After waiting for more than 10 breaths, the Wuling Goblin appeared with a whoosh and was kept in Su Fong's palm. It turned out that Su Fong had asked the Wuling Goblin to follow the corpse sovereign, who was possessed by his second primordial spirit. When they were about to leave this void world, he asked the Wuling Goblin to swallow the corpse sovereign. This way, he could bring the corpse sovereign out without anyone noticing. Ao Tian Chong hatefully raised his eyebrows. Stone demons are very rare in the great immortal world. Su Fong said casually, "This is a big goblin that I subdued when I was in the small world. It has a body of earth element divine might. It's all thanks to him that I was able to survive this time." Phew! Goddess Xuanxin was the first to step out from the opening of the seal. The others followed closely behind her. As soon as Gu Huajun's master saw Goddess Xuanxin, he immediately said, "Xuanxin, now you should know how serious it is inside. Su Fong is nothing. It's fine if you die, but it's not worth it for you to put yourself in danger for him." Seeing Su Fong behind Goddess Xuanxin, Gu Huajun's master's eyes suddenly widened, and he couldn't help but exclaim. The clear sky myriad scroll door, the constellation of 9 heavens, and the experts on the Imperial Tomb's mountain in midair were all shocked and surprised. It was already a miracle that Ao Tian Chong hatefully and the others could come out alive after entering the Imperial Tombs. They really didn't expect that a large number of corpses in the void realm inside the Imperial Tombs would revive. Even an immortal emperor like Emperor Ying had to flee, but Su Fong, a mere mystic immortal, could come out alive and meet Ao Tian Chong hatefully and the others. Huang Fu Fei, Li Qianxi, and the others, as well as the disciples of Huyen Shinrikyo, were naturally disappointed. However, they couldn't help but praise in their hearts. This Su Fong is really extraordinarily lucky. If Emperor Ying was here, he would be even more shocked. Greetings, Grand Elders and Elders. Su Fong cupped his fists at the higher-ups and elders of the 2 major sections. His cold gaze swept across Gu Huajun's master, and he sneered in his heart. It was this person who tipped him off when he left the clear sky myriad scroll door. That was why he was chased by various forces. He must avenge this hatred. At this time, Su Fong was no longer the weak chicken he was before. He could be humiliated or even trampled on by others. He could only compromise and swallow his anger. If someone bullies me, I'll pay it back tenfold. If someone wants to kill me, I'll exterminate their entire family. This was Su Fong's character at this time. He was ruthless and decisive. Although Gu Huajun's master had an extraordinary status and couldn't kill him openly, Su Fong had many means to kill a Grand Elder secretly. Even if he didn't send out the Corpse Emperor, he still had many means to kill him without leaving a trace. The higher-ups of the 2 major sects carefully interrogated him, but Su Fong, who was already prepared, dealt with them. As for the demon-sealing Imperial Heavenly Seal, Su Fong naturally pretended that he didn't know anything. The higher-ups of the sect didn't expect to get anything out of him. Junior brother Su Fong. Huang Fu Fei changed her usual cold and aloof appearance, as if there had never been any grudges between her and Su Fong. Be careful of this woman. Don't be tempted by her beauty. Xuanxin Fairy said to Su Fong in a cold voice. Su Fong rubbed his nose helplessly. Was he the kind of person who was greedy for beauty? If he was greedy for beauty, he had plenty of opportunities to take away Xuanxin Fairy's flawless body in the past. What's more, no matter how greedy he was for beauty, Su Fong only had killing intent for a ruthless bitch like Huang Fu Fei. He definitely wouldn't have any thoughts about her. The devil race has shown signs of a large-scale invasion of this immortal domain. The sect will definitely make a big move. I'll stay in the divine Billow immortal world for the next few days. You should also stay here and recover in peace. Don't leave at will. If you encounter any danger, contact me with the token at any time. Xuanqin Fairy said a few words, then floated away. The devil race is going to invade the immortal world? Su Fong was shocked. Chapter 1228. With a concerned expression, Huang Fu Fei said, Junior brother Su Fong, since you've survived, why don't I invite a few peerless geniuses to accompany you and set up a banquet to help you get over your shock? I was lucky enough to escape, but I'm still in shock and severely injured. I can only accept senior sister Huang Fu's kindness. Su Fong sneered in his heart, but on the surface, he looked flattered. Who didn't know how to put on a show? As for Huang Fu Fei's intentions, Su Fong couldn't be bothered to guess. Huang Fu Fei, who used to be unreachable in Su Fong's eyes and who controlled his life and death, was now completely reversed. She was like a weak chicken. As long as there was a chance, he could easily kill her. He didn't need to care about what tricks she had. In front of powerful strength, all tricks were useless. After bidding farewell to Ao Yin, Zhang Hen, and the others, Su Fong immediately left the Imperial Mausoleum Mountain. Although various forces coveted Su Fong's ethereal enlightenment, with the Thousand Scrolls Door and Star Palace and the Divine Billow Immortal World, these people could only give up on some unrealistic ideas. At the border between the Divine Billow Nation and the Wildlands, Su Fong flew over from a barren but spacious valley. It turned out that Su Fong had specifically found a secluded place to prepare to break through to the Feather Immortal Realm. Back in the Imperial Mausoleum, Su Fong could have broken through at any time, but he had to suppress it. Now, it had reached a point where it was difficult to suppress. The spiritual energy here was very thin, and under the influence of the fourth sun, the spiritual energy was filled with the natural evil energy of heaven and earth. It wasn't suitable for a breakthrough. However, this wasn't a problem for Su Fong. Using his great perfection ability, he sensed that there weren't any cultivators or big goblin nearby, so it was safe enough. Then, he set up a formation, took out 2 ancient spiritual veins, and inserted them into the formation. He let the experts and big goblin under him come out. At the same time, he took out a lot of yin-yang immortal sky pills and medicine for everyone to cultivate. He also let the corpse emperor controlled by the second primordial spirit come out and hide at the side to guard, to prevent interference when breaking through to the Feather Immortal Realm. After doing all this, Su Fong settled down. The formation gathered a lot of spiritual energy. Su Fong began to absorb the spiritual energy which rushed into his body. At this moment, Su Fong was already at the peak of the 9th Dao realm of the profound immortal realm, and he was like a piece of paper that was separated from the heavenly immortal realm. After forming the seal, he first used a minor circulation technique, followed by a major circulation technique. His strength began to surge and engulf his entire body. In less than half a month, every nook and cranny of his body was filled with true qi. He felt as if his true qi was about to tear apart every inch of his skin, every piece of his flesh, and even his bones and meridians. The pain began to rapidly spread throughout his body. A burst of tribulation qi burst out from his body. His body was surrounded by tribulation fire, which burned with a huff. A shocking aura surged into heaven and earth, and the aura of the heavenly tribulation gradually appeared. Then, a layer of dark clouds appeared in the sky above, rolling like raging waves, vast and shocking. The following 9 major tribulations were a severe test for any cultivator who wanted to break through to the Yuxian realm. After going through the 9 major tribulations, the body would transform again, shatter, and purify the impurities. It would become as light as a feather and step into an ethereal realm. The profound immortal realm had just communicated with the galaxy and nature, while the Yuxian realm had reached a whole new level of fusion with the galaxy and nature. It would directly peel off the galaxy fragments, merge with the golden core, and cultivate a real world. If one couldn't merge with the world, they would be shocked to death by the power of the world. They would be like a feather, and they would disappear from the world at any time. The 9 major tribulations that one faced when breaking through to the Yuxian realm were also the first test of the Yuxian realm. If one couldn't withstand the 9 major tribulations, the result would be the same as a feather, and their soul would be destroyed. However, to Su Fong, the 9 major tribulations didn't matter at all. No matter how powerful it was only equivalent to the power of the Yuxian realm. Su Fong really didn't need to care too much about it. Su Fong took the initiative to fly out of the formation and into the sky. Whoosh, the major tribulation was also formed. The thick tribulation clouds rolled like boiling water, and thunder and lightning flashed within. It was shocking. With a terrifying aura of destruction, a beam of tribulation light arrived in an instant. Go! Under the explosive urging of Su Fong's mind, his genuine qi merged with the surrounding spiritual qi and turned into a rolling sword current like lightning. It rose against the sky and collided with the first heavenly tribulation. Under the impact of the sword energy, the first beam of tribulation light collapsed and shattered instantly. It was equivalent to the power of the heavenly tribulation of the Yuxian realm, and it didn't cause any trouble for Su Fong at all. The masters and Big Goblin in the valley couldn't care about their cultivation anymore. They all looked up at the sky. Those who had seen Su Fong go through the tribulation before were already used to it. Dai Yong, Yin Mo, and the other new subordinates were stunned when they saw Su Fong resolve the first heavenly tribulation so easily. It would be difficult to find someone who could resolve the heavenly tribulation so easily in the entire great immortal realm. As soon as the first heavenly tribulation was shattered, the 2 beams of tribulation light were like 2 entwined lightning snakes. The aura of destruction was even more shocking, and it rolled towards Su Fong. Su Fong urged a sword current to meet the second heavenly tribulation, shattering the 2 beams of lightning into pieces and scattering them into the sky. The third heavenly tribulation became much more violent. As soon as the first 2 beams of tribulation light were shattered, it came one after another. Thunder roared and lightning flashed, and a destructive aura shrouded the world. Compared to the heavenly tribulation, Su Fong was like a small feather. If he couldn't fly into the sky, he would be blasted into ashes. The heavenly tribulation of the Yuxian realm is indeed powerful, but it's not fierce enough. A wave of sword energy swept out and shattered the 3 beams of lightning. The fragments of the heavenly tribulation flew all over the sky, as if someone had ignited a flame in the sky. The following lightning tribulations were easily resolved by Su Fong. Su Fong stood proudly in the sky. His long hair danced in the wind, and a domineering aura arose spontaneously. The masters and Big Goblin below were all impressed and in awe when they saw this scene. The Vermilion Emperor also deliberately brought out the Seal Ba Demon Monarch to see Su Fong's power. Other than shock and horror, the Celestial Demon Mountain's leaders had no other expression. The sky, which was covered by dark clouds, suddenly lit up. It wasn't that the heavenly tribulation had ended, but that it had gathered most of its power for the final blow. It was like a candle that was about to be extinguished, releasing its last light. The invisible divine power was like the will of the heavens. It covered the world and wanted to destroy everything. A terrifying, destructive power descended from the sky. The masters on the ground were all shocked. The Big Goblin also trembled under this supreme divine power. It was as if doomsday had arrived. The most powerful 9th heavenly tribulation had arrived. Beams of sword energy formed a large formation. Under Su Fong's urging, it spiraled up. The roar shook the surroundings, forming a sword light that looked like the dome of a palace. It was magnificent and dazzling. Boom, boom, boom. The heavenly tribulations bombarded the dome of the sword formation. Crack, crack, crack. After the 4 heavenly tribulations were shattered, the sword formation was shattered. Su Fong formed a seal again and urged the sword formation to rise against the heavens. It blocked the remaining 5 heavenly tribulations that bombarded him. The sword formation was shattered again. The last remaining heavenly tribulation fell on Su Fong. Finally, there's some challenge. Su Fong smiled proudly. He didn't form a seal, nor did he use a doctrine artifact. He casually grabbed at the void, as if he was gathering all the power in the surroundings into his hand. Then he waved his arm, and a ball of starlight rolled out like a meteor. It was the Star Palace's supreme, supernatural power, the meteor chaos technique. Then, Su Fong had gradually abandoned the martial arts and divine powers of Star Palace. Although the divine power of meteor chaos skill was powerful, it wasn't suitable for him. To him, it wasn't the most powerful divine power and secret skill. Just like that, he shattered the last heavenly tribulation. In an instant, it was as if the sun suddenly appeared after a storm. It was peaceful. The evil spirit and destructive divine power of the heavenly tribulation all disappeared. Su Fong flew to the ground and removed the formation. Whoosh! A warm breeze blew from the heavenly tribulation. It seemed to contain a strange power, making every pore on Su Fong's body feel comfortable. Su Fong felt that his body was light as a feather. It was as if he had turned into a feather and he could travel freely in the universe. The experts and Big Goblin in the valley also took the opportunity to absorb the aura and reaped great benefits. Chi, chi, chi. His body started to level up crazily. His entire body was shattering and attacking. The impurities in the placenta with a foul smell came out from the depths of his body. It was like a piece of iron that had been tempered thousands of times to quench the impurities. Everything quieted down and the power of leveling up disappeared. At that moment, Su Fong leaped from the Xian immortal realm to the feather immortal realm. This feeling is the feather immortal realm. He felt that his body had become weightless. He could fly with the wind and travel between the heavens and the earth. He naturally had a different feeling about the galaxy compared to the Xian immortal realm. The Xian immortal realm was extremely mysterious. However, the feather immortal realm was a step further. It was no longer profound and hard to grasp. Instead, it was ethereal and ethereal. It was as if he could reach out and grasp it. Not only had his cultivation level changed, but his body had also undergone earth-shattering changes. His meridians became deeper and seemed to be able to contain the galaxy. The biggest change was the golden core of origin. Not only did it become bigger, but the heavenly cave also became deeper. It resonated with the galaxy and nature from afar. It had more power of the world. However, it still couldn't compare to the world fragment and the 24 yang meridians. The divine aperture in his mind also became more solid. The yang immortal inside was constantly transforming, peeling off and fusing. The sea of dermic powers in his divine aperture became more vast and magnificent. Dermic powers were the bridge between true chi, the body, and the yang immortal realm. Only with dermic powers could a cultivator use divine powers. The feather immortal realm. It was a brand new realm, a realm that touched the void, the galaxy, nature, and even the way of heaven. It was dangerous, indistinct, ethereal, and revealed a strand of profundity and mystery. At this moment, Luo's voice came from the blood jade deep in his body. You have reached the feather immortal realm. You can barely be considered a powerhouse. It takes an ordinary cultivator tens of thousands of years to reach the feather immortal realm from the Xian immortal realm. However, your speed of improvement is something even I have never seen before. Su Fong was very calm. With my current strength, I can already suppress powerhouses like the elders. However, there's still a big gap between me and the great elder. Now, various forces are eyeing me covetously. Even the Star Palace and the 10,000 Scrolls door have many enemies. The devil race and the demon race are restless. My strength is far from enough. Luo praised, neither arrogant nor impatient. This is the state of mind that a cultivator should have. I was worried that your Dao heart would be unstable because of your rapid improvement. Now it seems that my worries were unnecessary. You have only digested a small part of the Yellow Spring Great Emperor's inheritance. This time, you came to the Divine Billow Immortal Realm and gain a lot. You can take advantage of this rare time to digest all kinds of resources and improve your strength in all aspects. At this moment, the second primordial spirit transmitted, Main body, you need to concentrate on cultivation. I also need to start devouring the demon race. Su Fong was still worried. The demon race is not at his weakest in the heavenly devil blood plate. You have to be careful. Since he is not weak enough, I will give him more strength. The second primordial spirit's voice was full of killing intent. Obviously, it had a strong killing intent towards the demon race who was shackled in the heavenly devil blood plate. The second primordial spirit turned into a black Xianguang and came out of the corpse emperor's forehead. It then entered the divine aperture of Su Fong's main body and went straight to the heavenly devil blood plate. Su Fong put the motionless corpse emperor into the crucible transformation realm in his body. He ordered the powerhouses and the big goblin to cultivate outside. Then he entered the crucible transformation realm. Chapter 1229. This time, he came to the divine billow immortal world for a simple mission. Who would have thought that a simple mission would cause a sensation in this immortal domain? What was even more unexpected was that there would be such a huge harvest. Unexpectedly, he really didn't expect that after digesting the harvest this time, he would be able to quickly improve his strength. With a thought, a large seal appeared in his hand, exuding an ancient and profound aura. It seemed that once activated, it could suppress and seal a territory or break all seals. This seal was the demon sealing emperor's heavenly seal that was fought over by various forces. It had always been regarded as the imperial seal of the divine billow nation. With this seal, he could unlock a supreme body sealed in the god burial enclosure. Although the demon sealing emperor's heavenly seal had been integrated by Su Fong, the various ancient sealing formations inside the Tao artifact were very vast. It would take a long time to refine all of them. If he wanted to unlock the seal of the supreme body in the god burial enclosure, he must activate the demon sealing emperor's heavenly seal. Moreover, this seal was a Tao artifact that was specially used to create and break various seals and formations. Although it was not as good as the heavenly dipper creation cauldron, it was also very useful after activation. Law suddenly reminded, since the demon sealing emperor's heavenly seal has the word demon sealing emperor, and the demon race is frantically fighting over this seal, I'm afraid that the god burial enclosure is not as simple as sealing the supreme body of immortal Emperor Yu. Law, you mean the demon sealing emperor's heavenly seal is related to the demon race? Su Fong had never realized this before and was surprised by Law's reminder. Law continued, I'm just guessing. The ancient war of immortals and demons was too long ago. Who knows what happened to the divine billow nation's imperial ancestor? As for the specifics, we must go to the god burial enclosure to find out. In short, you have to be careful. It seemed that it was not easy to obtain the supreme body of immortal Emperor Yu. However, Su Fong was fearless. Without taking a risk, how could there be any gains? There was no such thing as a free lunch in the great immortal world. It won't be too late to go to the god burying enclosure after I fully control the demon sealing emperor's heavenly seal, investigate the situation of the god burying enclosure, and make all kinds of preparations. Su Fong secretly decided. Furthermore, the news of a supreme physical body sealed within the god burying enclosure had already spread to all major worlds. Although the 8 major powers had failed to obtain the demon sealing emperor's heavenly seal, they would definitely send experts to the god burying enclosure to find an opportunity to seize the physical body. He peeled off thousands of yang immortal chi and entered the demon sealing imperial heavenly seal. He focused on comprehending the array formations and hand seals. With the demonic disintegration seal and the purple chi dharma spirit, it was much easier for Su Fong to refine and activate an extreme tool compared to other cultivators. He believed that he would be able to control the demon sealing emperor's heavenly seal in a few years. After peeling off the yang immortal chi and entering the heavenly dipper good fortune cauldron, Su Fong was able to activate some of the heavenly dipper good fortune cauldron's power due to the accidental fusion of the purple chi dharma spirit and the monarch chi. However, he still needed to master the vast array formations within the heavenly dipper good fortune cauldron. Next, he placed the corpse of the Divine Wave Nation's first emperor into the Cauldron Transformation's refining array. With the help of the Cauldron Transformation's refining power, he refined elixirs and spiritual objects with strong life energy into spiritual liquid. He continuously watered and tempered the corpse. This could increase the strength of the corpse emperor. He had completely turned the corpse emperor into a magic treasure like the Xianhuang's Six Paths Pagoda. Next, Su Fong coldly shouted, "Bring me the Ba-Mo sovereign." The Vermilion Emperor carried the sealed Ba-Mo sovereign out of the Cauldron Transformation's array formation and threw him in front of Su Fong. Su Fong coldly snorted, "Ba-Mo sovereign, you still refuse to submit to me." Su Fong, although this king admires you very much, and given enough time, you can even become a supreme immortal emperor. Unfortunately, you won't have this opportunity. The world is changing, and the demon race's strong rise is inevitable. They will sweep through the entire immortal domain, and human cultivators will eventually be destroyed. How can you stay out of this? Although the Ba-Mo sovereign was no longer as arrogant as before, he didn't intend to submit to Su Fong. Instead, he acted as a lobbyist for the demon race. Su Fong sneered. "According to what you said, shouldn't I surrender to the demon race and become their puppet?" The Ba-Mo sovereign proudly opened his mouth and spoke without stopping. "What other way out is there except to surrender to the demon race? If you are willing to surrender to the demon race, this king can recommend you to the demon world's Lord Emissary. With your potential and the contribution of handing over the demon sealing emperor's heavenly seal, you will definitely be valued by the Lord Emissary. In the future, when the demon race becomes the master of the immortal world, you might also become the master of a great world." The Vermilion Emperor thought that after this period of training, the Ba-Mo sovereign had already lost his will to resist and was planning to ask Su Fong for credit. Who would have thought that the Ba-Mo sovereign would coldly shout, "Ba-Mo sovereign, in front of Master, you are just a bunch of clay chickens and pottery dogs. You actually want Master to surrender to the demon race? This emperor will tear you apart." Su Fong waved his hand and looked at the Ba-Mo sovereign. The Vermilion Emperor is right. In my eyes, not only the demon race, but all the other evil spirits that emerged during the upheaval are also a bunch of clay chickens and pottery dogs. Furthermore, you are wrong about one thing. Not only do I want to become an immortal emperor, but I also want to surpass immortal emperor and leave this immortal region. In the end, I want to go to the other worlds. The Ba-Mo sovereign smiled disdainfully. Su Fong knew what the Ba-Mo sovereign was thinking. After smiling, he took out the Origin Sacred Mirror and activated the power of the 9 suns and entered the Origin Sacred Mirror. It released a red light that wrapped around the Ba-Mo sovereign. The Ba-Mo sovereign's eyes were filled with shock when he sensed the terrifying red light released by the Origin Sacred Mirror. Even the Cauldron Transformation formation was about to be melted. "This is the supreme treasure that stole the heavenly flame in my left hand. So it was you." Sovereign Ba-Mo cried out in alarm, his entire body trembling in fear. The experience of losing his left hand and demon tool in the depths of the lava was something he would never forget. Now that the nightmare was repeating itself, how could he not be shocked? How could he not be afraid of Su Fong putting away the mirror? It turned out that Su Fong hadn't really planned on using the Origin Treasure Mirror to refine Sovereign Ba-Mo Yellow Springs Blood Sea. After forming a hand seal, Su Fong's body suddenly shattered, turning into a terrifying sea of blood that instantly boiled. Even the Ba Devil Monarch, a giant of the Celestial Devil Mountain and a giant of the Devil Path, wasn't so terrifying when he cultivated the Devil Art. Yellow Springs Blood Sea. This is the Yellow Springs Blood Sea. You're that ghost face Rakshasa. The Ba-Mo sovereign was very knowledgeable, and he had followed the demon race into desolate Swamp Star to steal the Yellow Springs Emperor's inheritance. He immediately recognized Su Fong's Yellow Springs Blood Sea. His eyes widened, and his eyeballs almost popped out. Somewhere in the sea of blood rolled for a while, and Su Fong in a bloodwater state appeared. He waved his hand, and a corpse appeared in the sea of blood. Lin Yihan's body had been taken over by the second primordial spirit. Now that the second primordial spirit had the corpse emperor as a host, Lin Yihan's body was naturally useless. It was perfect for cultivation. Su Fong had lost a lot of destiny in the void world inside the Imperial Mausoleum. He had made up for it by advancing to the Feather Immortal realm, but it still wasn't enough. He would use Lin Yihan, an expert from the Tranquility Emperor's residence, to make up for it. Under the Ba-Mo sovereign's dumbfounded gaze, Lin Yihan's body fell into the sea of blood, splashing blood. The sea of blood wrapped around Lin Yihan, boiling and burning the flames of life. First, it was his skin, then his flesh and bones. Layer by layer, the sea of blood corroded, melted, and mixed with the sea of blood. In the end, even his golden core was melted, becoming Su Fong's powerful nutrients. Lin Yihan's strength was close to that of a celestial emperor. He was Tranquility Emperor's right-hand man, and he was famous in the Xianao Great World. Now, he had completely disappeared. Ba-Mo sovereign, I have the supreme mirror, which is superior to the 10 great Tao artifacts. I also have the inheritance of the Yellow Spring Emperor's dojo. I also have various other heaven-defying abilities. Do you think I'm not qualified to fight against the devil race? Su Fong, who was in the sea of blood, said majestically. The Vermilion Emperor also said proudly, Master will not only conquer the entire immortal realm, but also ascend to the 10,000 realms and go to the end of the world. If you follow Master, I can become a supreme demon god, and you can also become a supreme demon god. If you follow the devil race with all your heart, you will be a slave at most. Do you still need to think about what you should choose? If you don't surrender, you will end up like Lin Yihan. If I didn't want to know some things about the devil race through you, I wouldn't have spent so much effort on you. There are many experts of the devil path who are more powerful than you. At most, I can suppress a few more of them. If you don't want to surrender, then so be it. Vermilion Emperor, throw him over. Su Fong, who was in the sea of blood, spoke with a thunderous voice, full of killing intent. Ba-Mo sovereigns will collapse. He trembled as he knelt down and kowtowed. Don't kill me. I am willing to surrender to Master. Su Fong condensed a familiar supreme power, turning it into a seal seed that entered Ba-Mo sovereign's body. Vermilion Emperor, your contribution this time is not small. Take Ba-Mo sovereign to another place and explain some rules to him. I also want to know everything about the devil race, including the 9 nether heaven covering hand and the god ghost heavenly devil movement technique. I guarantee that Master will be satisfied. Vermilion Emperor, who received Su Fong's praise, was very excited. He immediately pulled Ba-Mo sovereign to the Crucible Transformation Array formation. As for the strength of the Ba Demon Monarch, although it was very good, it could be considered a very powerful existence among experts like the Great Elder. However, Su Fong didn't put in his eyes at this time. Just as he said, if it wasn't for the fact that he wanted to understand the demon race and the 2 demon races' mysterious techniques, he would have refined it instead of talking so much nonsense. Su Fong only cultivated the Devil Path cultivation method, which was the Heavenly Devil Book. His only spirit ability was the Heavenly Devil Disintegration Seal. The devil race had already revealed their fangs to invade the immortal domain. In the future, he would have to fight with the devil race. Cultivating the devil race cultivation method would allow him to understand the devil world's cultivators and the devil race better. The 9 nether heaven covering hand and the god ghost heavenly devil movement technique were 2 devil race techniques. Even Yin Qianlu had praised them. Su Fong naturally coveted them. However, he only had the first layer of the 2 devil race techniques. Ba-Mo sovereign was a big shot of the demonic mountain and followed the devil race powerhouses. He definitely knew a lot about the devil race, as well as the latter part of the 2 devil race techniques. After subduing Ba-Mo sovereign, Su Fong was no longer distracted by other things. He focused on refining and fusing with Lin Yihan's body. Sizzle, the blood rolled and surged like waves, igniting the flame of life. As time passed, the body of Lin Yihan, the powerhouse of Emperor Ning's residence, was completely fused with the blood. The essence of Lin Yihan's body caused the yellow spring blood sea to constantly transform. Su Fang's lost vitality also recovered bit by bit. The yellow spring blood sea not only swallowed Lin Yihan's body, but also his emperor's qi and everything else. They all became Su Fang's. This was the terrifying ability of the yellow spring blood sea to devour and fuse. More than 3 years passed. A tribulation qi emerged from the yellow spring blood sea. Su Fang immediately transformed into his physical state, flew out of the crucible transformation realm, and appeared in the valley. His body burned with a raging tribulation fire. After swallowing Lin Yihan's body, Su Fang gained great power. Not only did the yellow spring blood sea transform, but his cultivation realm also gradually rose from the normal state of the first Dao realm to the peak. At this moment, he was about to advance and step into the second Dao realm of the Feather Immortal. Chapter 1230. A large amount of impurities in the placenta overflowed from his body layer by layer and turned into nothingness in the burning tribulation fire. The impact of the advancement was like a tide, fiercely attacking his entire body wave after wave. The pure yang true fire in his body continued to burn, and his upper body almost turned into a fire cloud. A purple gas lingered around his upper body, and there was a supreme aura in the mystery. Su Fang had experienced the process of advancement and transformation countless times before, but every time he felt great pain. This time, it was especially intense. Moreover, there was great danger in the pain. It was as if he had turned into a feather and was being tempered by the tribulation fire. He could turn into nothingness at any time and disappear between heaven and earth. After burning for a few days, the tribulation fire slowly disappeared. After the pain, there was a transformation. The feather that had been burned by the tribulation fire became deeper and nothingness. The transformation was comprehensive. His flesh membrane, bones, golden core origin, divine aperture, primordial spirit, and second primordial spirit were also transforming. After stepping into the Yushin realm for a few years, Su Fang took another step forward and reached the Yushin realm. With continuous breakthroughs, the vitality that he had lost in the void realm inside the imperial mausoleum finally recovered to its peak. The gray hair on his head was no longer there. Not only did he become younger, but his entire body was also exuding a vigorous vitality. His body was deeper than before, and there was a strange sense of ethereality and nothingness. His body became much lighter, as if he could soar into the sky with the wind. Of course, it was not that he had lost weight, but as his realm increased, the restrictions of the galaxy and nature on his body weakened. Moreover, his sense of the galaxy and nature was no longer mysterious. Instead, he had an ethereal grasp and control. However, Su Fang also clearly sensed the danger at the same time. Previously, when he had advanced to the Yushin realm, this feeling was not very clear. Now that he had advanced to the Yushin realm, as the fusion of the golden core and the galaxy reached a new height, Su Fang could clearly sense that he could be killed by the power of the world at any time during the cultivation process. Therefore, the cultivation of the Yushin realm cultivators was trembling with fear, as if they were treading on thin ice. However, Su Fang had the ethereal enlightenment and the power of yin and yang in the world. The great danger to ordinary Yushin realm cultivators was almost non-existent to Su Fang. Lin Yihan, whom I had to look up to in the past, has now become my nourishment, helping me advance to the Feather Immortal realm. There's still a portion of Lin Yihan's body essence that hasn't been completely devoured. In addition, there's still a small portion of the Frost Soul blood fetus left. I'll use this to stabilize my condition. Then, I'll cultivate all my cultivation techniques and further integrate them with the Heavenly Dipper Creation Cauldron, Yellow Springs Reincarnation Sword, and other powerful Tao treasures to increase my overall strength. Once again returning to the crucible transformation space, his corporeal body instantly collapsed and turned into a sea of blood in the Yellow Springs. After devouring Lin Yihan's essence and reaching the second Tao realm, the Oriole's blood sea had also undergone a transformation. Now it was more than 300 meters wide, looking quite terrifying. In the blood, Su Fong found something that had not been devoured. Naturally, it was Lin Yihan's item. Among them was a piece of golden armor. This was an extreme weapon, and Su Fong had a deep impression of it. After activating it with the Emperor's Qi, its aura was astonishing, and it was a good item. It just so happened that Su Fong lacked a Dao treasure like a defensive armor. Moreover, he did not care about being discovered by others. Inside the Imperial Mausoleum, Emperor Ying knew that Lin Yihan had been captured alive by Su Fong. There was no need for him to be secretive. Since he had completely fallen out with the tranquil Emperor residents, he was not afraid of their revenge. Su Fong was so confident now. He could even kill an immortal emperor, and the tranquil emperor would not personally attack Su Fong. He put the golden armor into the crucible transformation and separated the young immortal to fuse with it. He also found a piece of world fragment by accident. Su Fong gave it to the sky-reaching demon venerable. So far, Su Fong had 4 big goblins under him: Green Feather King, Wooling Goblin, Vermilion Emperor, and Sky-reaching demon venerable. Buzz, it turned out that the token of the Clear Skies 1,000 Scrolls door was activated. He separated a part of his consciousness and immediately heard Xuanqin's cold voice. Su Fong, where are you? Are you still in the divine below immortal world? Su Fong replied, I have been cultivating in seclusion in the divine below immortal world. I have something to do. Xuanqin's tone was cold. Since you are in the divine below immortal world, why didn't you come to see me? I thought you didn't listen to my advice and left the divine below immortal world without permission. I was worried about you. Su Fong was speechless. Didn't she say not to look for her if there was nothing? Xuanqin's tone softened a little. You are in a very dangerous situation now. Don't leave the divine below immortal world without permission during this time. Dangerous. You don't know yet, but your current fame has spread throughout the immortal AO great world, and even other great worlds. Not only are you more famous than me, but you're even more famous than the top 10 young masters. Su Fong was shocked and stunned. How could he be so famous while cultivating in seclusion? What was going on? It turned out that in the Imperial Mausoleum, Su Fong captured Lin Yihan and bought Mo sovereign alive. Lin Yihan betrayed the tranquil Emperor residence, and Su Fong escaped the pursuit of Emperor Ying. The 8 forces were in an uproar. Lin Yihan was famous in the immortal AO great world, and Ba Mo sovereign was a peerless powerhouse of the demonic mountain. These 2 peerless powerhouses were captured alive by a profound immortal cultivator. Such a thing naturally caused a sensation. Emperor Ying was a supreme immortal emperor, a character above the Grand Elder. To be able to escape from his hands, what level of strength did one need to possess? At first, no one believed it. Later, when Emperor Ying confirmed it himself, people had no choice but to believe it. No matter what methods Su Fong used, these were indisputable facts. Therefore, Su Fong's name rose in this immortal realm like a blazing sun, dazzling and bright. But fame was not necessarily a good thing. Emperor Ying would not be kind enough to spread Su Fong's name. Su Fong asked, What is the tranquil Emperor residence's intention? Xuanqin replied coldly, They want to use this to pressure the Clear Skies Myriad Scroll Gate and make the sect hand you over to the tranquil Emperor residence. What a domineering tranquil Emperor residence. Su Fong's eyes exuded a cold light. Instead of robbing, they turned back to force the owner. The tranquil Emperor residence was really arrogant to the extreme. How did the sect respond? Naturally, it was rejected by the sect. But there are people in the sect who think you are the source of the chaos. They suggested that you return to the constellation of 9 heavens to avoid bringing more trouble to the Clear Skies Myriad Scroll Gate. Su Fong said proudly, The Clear Skies Myriad Scroll Gate won't keep me. So what if I return to the constellation of 9 heavens? If the constellation of 9 heavens also won't accept me, the world is big enough for me to stay. No matter how you put it, you are still my Tao companion. Who would dare to chase you away? Her cold voice was filled with a domineering air. Then she said, "Now that the experts of the Star Palace and the myriad Scroll Gate have gathered in the immortal wavy immortal realm, the tranquil Emperor residents won't dare to do anything to you. But you have to be careful of the demonic mountain and the demons behind it. They are not to be trifled with." Hearing the concern and protection in Xuanxin's tone, Su Fong felt a trace of warmth in his heart. Unexpectedly, after a while, Xuanxin suddenly said, "Has Rakshasa contacted you recently?" It turned out that Xuanxin's concern was for Ghostface Rakshasa, not Su Fong. I thought that my position in her heart suddenly became higher as her nominal Tao companion. Who knew? Su Fong was very depressed, causing Luo in the Blood Jade to laugh again. Su Fong's voice had a trace of resentment. Ghostface Rakshasa appears and disappears like a ghost. Why would he take the initiative to contact a nobody like me? You're no longer a nobody. You're a big shot. You don't have to lie to me. Did you meet Rakshasa in the Void Realm inside the Imperial Mausoleum? Su Fong's heart skipped a beat, and he flatly denied. You are thinking too much. Ghostface Rakshasa did not appear. That day, Senior Out Yin and I were in danger, but a corpse emperor appeared and saved us. I thought about such a strange thing. The only possibility is that someone helped in the dark. The one who saved me but refused to appear is the mysterious Rakshasa. There is no one else. What a smart woman. If you did not have Rakshasa's help, how could you, a mystic immortal cultivator, survive among the countless resurrected corpses, capture Lin Han and Lord Ba Mo alive, and escape from Emperor Ying's hands? Su Fong was speechless. There was no way to explain, so he simply acquiesced. Xuanxin's sigh sounded from the token again. It seems that Rakshasa really does not want to see me again. It's fine if we never meet again. If there is a chance, tell him that Xuanxin will always remember his life-saving grace. Then, Xuanxin told Su Fong another shocking news. It turned out that Xuanxin found out that the missing female cultivators were related to the devil race. After reporting the news to the two sects immediately sent experts to secretly investigate and captured several Devil Path cultivators from the demonic mountain and the 9 Sea Devil sect alive. From them, they learned that the devil race had built a secret camp in a turbulent abyss not far from the divine Billow immortal world. The captured human experts and female cultivators were all imprisoned in the camp. The human experts were possessed and devoured by the devil race to constantly adapt to the power of the righteous path. The female cultivators' fates were very miserable, and they became the embryos of some powerful devil race. All kinds of signs showed that the devil race was already preparing for a full-scale invasion. The secret camp in the turbulent abyss was very likely the exit for the devil race to invade this immortal domain. However, the turbulent abyss was very dangerous. The two sects sent many peerless experts, but none of them could enter. Instead, they were sucked into the void, turbulence, and disappeared. Hearing this, Su Fong's heart felt as heavy as a rock. He felt a sense of urgency, as if a storm was brewing. He was prepared to go back and ask the Ba Demon Monarch. He would definitely know more about the demon race. The matter of the devil race could only be put aside for now. The two sects and other forces shifted their attention to another important matter. God Burial Enclosure in the past few years, the Clear Skies Myriad Scroll Gate, and the constellation of 9 Heavens sent a large number of experts into the Void Realm inside the Imperial Mausoleum. The two sects even sent out several immortal Emperor-level experts to finally eliminate all the resurrected corpses. However, the two sects almost turned the entire Void Realm upside down, but they still could not find the shadow of the Devil Sealing Emperor's heavenly seal. Therefore, the two sects concluded that the Devil Sealing Emperor's heavenly seal had been taken away, and it was very likely to fall into the hands of Emperor Ning's residents. Moreover, Emperor Ning's residence was secretly preparing to enter the God Burial Enclosure. The God Burial Enclosure was a wasteland very far away from this immortal domain. There were many rumors about the God Burial Enclosure, but no truly powerful treasures had appeared. Naturally, no one would pay attention to it. Now, it had become the focus of attention of the 8 forces. All the major forces wanted to seize the supreme body of immortal Emperor Yu. They were busy fighting for benefits. Naturally, no one cared about the devil race. After talking about the current situation, Su Fong thought it was over. In the past, Fairy Xuanxin spoke very little, and her tone was also very cold. Today, she spoke so much in one breath, which made Su Fong feel a little strange. Unexpectedly, Fairy Xuanxin's dignified voice sounded again. Su Fong, I know that you have ambition, and unlimited potential. If you are given enough time, you will definitely soar to the sky and become an expert of the great immortal domain. However, at this time, the catastrophe is coming in the blink of an eye. Everyone is in danger. I have grandfather to rely on, but you are alone. Don't trust your sect, friends, and even relatives. You have to be careful. Chapter 1231. Fairy Xuanxin's words came from the bottom of her heart, which touched Su Fong's heart deeply. Putting away the token, Su Fong remained silent for a long time. Luo laughed and said, What? Were you moved by that woman's words? She's not bad, just accept her. There are a lot of benefits. Think about it. Xianyin Tian is at least an immortal emperor, and her strength is also extraordinary. This way, you'll have 2 more experts, and you can also solve your physiological problems, killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Su Fong said, Cough, cough, Luo. Not only are you not serious, you're also a little shameless. Luo Zhan said, Am I wrong? The path of cultivation is long and full of danger. With a woman, it will be more fun. Su Fong, I find that you're getting more and more boring, or is there a problem in that area? There's definitely no problem. Su Fong flatly denied. Probably not many men would admit to such a thing. What a joke! With a pure yang aura, vigorous vitality, and abundant yang qi, how could there be a problem in that area? This woman has feelings for you, and you dare to say that you have no feelings for her. Since she has feelings for you, why can't you accept her? It's not to that extent yet. Back then, in order to solve the trouble caused by the ethereal true solution, you proposed a marriage alliance with Xuanxin. For you, she didn't hesitate to sacrifice her reputation and agreed. At the banquet of the clear sky myriad scroll gate, she stood up for you in public. When she heard that you were trapped in the void realm inside the imperial mausoleum, she risked her life to rescue you. This time, she cares about you so much, but you're really heartless. Do you have to have something with a woman to be called loyal? I saved her many times, but I didn't expect her to do anything to me. I owe her a favor, and I will repay it in double. How can you repay it? She obviously has feelings for you, no, Luo Sha. I think you should repay it with your flesh. Luo, you miss women, right? Why don't you find a chance to collect some female cultivators, primordial spirit young immortals, and send them to accompany you in the blood jade? That sounds like a good idea. The blood that Su Fong had transformed into suddenly formed a whirlpool, lifting up a blood bead that contained a will. It was formed when he challenged Yin Sunxin that day and made a blood oath. Fairy Xuanxin's face appeared in Su Fong's mind. Her cold eyes revealed a faint sadness. Fairy Xuanxin was deeply injured by Yin Sunxin. Her heart was filled with pain, and she had reached a bottleneck in her cultivation. In order to fulfill the blood oath, I will fight to the death with Yin Sunxin. When the time comes, I will kill Yin Sunxin to fill the hatred in Xuanxin's heart and wipe away the sadness in his eyes as repayment. If Fairy Xuanxin heard what you said, she would definitely throw herself into your arms and let you have your way. Su Fong had a helpless look on his face. Regardless of whether you admit it or not, you have already formed a destiny connection with her. I can guarantee that the 2 of you will definitely be entangled together in the future. Luo, you're talking nonsense again. Can you say something serious? What is serious? The demon race has already infiltrated this immortal domain. With the changes in the world, they have begun to show their fangs. It is only a matter of time before they fully invade this immortal domain. It is a matter of life and death for human cultivators, but no one from the various forces cares about it. They're all focused on seizing the supreme body in the god burial enclosure. If we don't prepare now, once the catastrophe happens, the human race will definitely be destroyed. Humans are greedy by nature. Who doesn't do it for themselves? You're still very weak now. It is not your turn to worry about these things. You should focus on improving your strength. When you have enough strength, you can think about others. Luo, you are right. Strength is always king. Sizzle. The blood boiled. A small part of the ice soul blood fetus that hadn't been devoured and merged with the blood water emitted a dark blood light under the strong, devouring power of the blood water. Like ice falling into boiling water, it turned into a bloody aura bit by bit and merged with the yellow spring blood sea. He also used the crucible transformation technique to refine elixirs, spiritual items, and yin-yang immortal sky pills into spiritual liquid and continuously poured it into the blood water. The flames of life burned, and the yellow spring blood sea continued to boil. Some of the evil thoughts contained in the ice soul blood fetus were also refined by Su Fong using the pure yang true fire. They turned into pure yin qi and were absorbed by his primordial spirit. Then, he cultivated the heavenly demon scripture to nourish and strengthen his primordial spirit, constantly healing the injuries his primordial spirit suffered when he took over Night Demon's body. The yellow spring blood sea transformed bit by bit. The yellow spring reincarnation sword floated in the blood water, releasing a shocking reincarnation divine power. It cultivated and merged with the yellow spring blood sea. It also cultivated the 9 yang, 9 transformations, constantly attacking the 25th yang meridian. Su Fong could feel that this meridian was about to succeed. This was mainly due to the changes in the world. With an additional sun, cultivating the 9 yang 9 transformations was easier than before. Of course, it was also due to Lin Yihan's essence and the ice soul blood fetus. Ethereal truth, heaven's secret life shrinking technique, yellow spring reincarnation technique, blood hell wolf smoke, illusory fire cloud, tyrannical emperor's heaven soaring technique, and 2 of the demon race's great arts. In the future, there would be more opportunities to fight with the demon race. In order to understand the demon race better, Su Fong stepped up the cultivation of a 9 nether heaven covering hand and the ghost god movement technique. However, it was not the first level that he obtained before, but the second level that he obtained from the Baimo monarch. The heavenly dipper creation cauldron, the demon sealing emperor's heavenly seal, and the other Dao artifacts were further integrated. The Xianwang 6 Paths Pagoda, the Fire Cloud Spirit Gourd, and the Starry Daylight Sword were continuously improving in the heavenly dipper creation cauldron. Even the corpse emperor's body gradually reached a new height after being refined in the crucible transformation cauldron. In the heavenly demon blood plate, the second primordial spirit used the divine power of the Dao artifact to weaken Night Demon to the weakest state, preparing to devour Night Demon. The experts and Big Goblin stayed in the valley outside, cultivating with the help of the ancient spirit vein, yin-yang immortal sky pellet, and other resources. Their improvement was astonishing. Su Fong's overall strength was further improved and transformed. Another 3 years passed. Under the state of constantly devouring the frost soul blood fetus, large amounts of pills, and spiritual items, there was a sudden movement in his body. This movement did not come from elsewhere, but from the Heaven and Earth Dao Palace. The 25th meridian that was being attacked was mostly burning with an astonishing amount of yang qi flames. The 25th yang meridian was about to be born. Su Fong was surprised and happy. He gathered all the yang qi in his yang meridian, igniting the pure yang true fire, and began to crazily attack this meridian. Even the power of the world fragments yin-yang world poured into this meridian. Inside the Heaven and Earth Dao Palace, there was an astonishing amount of pure yang divine power that was also undergoing a transformation. The underworld Samsara Sword also entered the Heaven and Earth Dao Palace, cultivating with the help of the Sword Spirit. After a short period of silence, all the power in his body, including the world fragment's aura and the Heaven and Earth Dao Palace's aura, was absorbed by the 25th meridian. An aura was brewing and expanding. In the 25th meridian, a burst of yang qi xian guang burst. A burst of pure yang flames swept from one end of the meridian to the other, and then covered the entire Heaven and Earth Dao Palace. It then swept through the heaven and earth Tao Palace, all the way to the 25th meridian. The 25th meridian trembled, and the entire meridian instantly went from a state of burning pure yang true fire to a jade-colored plain meridian. It actively approached the last yang meridian in the heaven and earth Tao Palace. The tail connected, forming the heaven and earth Tao Palace with 25 yang meridians. Su Fong felt as though his entire body was suddenly enlightened. Vast amounts of yang qi flowed freely in the 25 yang meridians, surging mightily. Then it circulated in each meridian, growing and multiplying endlessly. His yang qi had obviously undergone a qualitative change, and there was also a quantitative change. His physical body's vitality had also become more vigorous, and his vitality had reached an extremely shocking level. He continued to devour pills and cultivate further, replenishing the yang qi consumed by the 12th and 15th meridian. He also absorbed the frost qi from the chaos essence sacred realm. Another 3 months passed. Buzz! Suddenly, there was a commotion from the clear sky's 10,000 scrolls doors token. Special disciple Su Fong has come to the Divine Wave Nation's Imperial Palace. The voice of a grand elder from the clear skies, 1,000 scrolls door came from the token. It was very urgent, and it was unknown what urgent matter had happened. Su Fong recovered his physical body and flew out of the crucible transformation realm. At this time, the constellation of 9 heavens elder immortal Changgu's voice also came. Master, you're still in the divine wave immortal world. Su Fong replied. Immortal Changgu, you've also come to the divine wave immortal world. Just now, the clear skies, 1,000 scrolls door suddenly summoned me to the Imperial Palace. What happened? After a moment of silence, immortal Changgu's heavy voice sounded again. Fairy Xuanxin has been kidnapped by the demon race's experts. What? Su Fong's head buzzed. He thought of the demon race's cruel methods against human female cultivators. Law was also somewhat anxious. Su Fong, you must rescue Fairy Xuanxin as soon as possible. Otherwise, the demon race's cruelty is far beyond your imagination. Boom! An astonishing aura, along with a baleful aura, soared to the sky. The experts and Big Goblin who were cultivating in the valley were all aghast. Not only because Su Fong's aura had become even more astonishing, but they were also guessing what had happened to make him so murderous. Bai Ling asked with concern, Brother, what happened? Fairy Xuanxin has been kidnapped by the demon race. Let's go to the Divine Wave Nation's Imperial Palace first and find out what happened. Su Fong's cold voice revealed an incomparable murderous aura. What demon race actually kidnapped our mistress? Let's fight it out with them. The Vermilion Emperor roared, shaking the valley. Although Fairy Xuanxin was Su Fong's dual cultivation Tao companion in name, she was also the mistress of these experts and Big Goblin. The experts and Big Goblin all boiled up. Su Fong absorbed the crucible transformation realm into his body and then collected the spirit vein. Whoosh, Su Fong's figure flashed, disappearing from the valley. After advancing to the Feather Immortal Realm, although Su Fong still couldn't fly like an Immortal Realm expert, his flying ability had increased by more than 10 times. He could also use the full power of the Feather Fan. If he used the Feather Fan, his speed wouldn't be much slower than an Immortal Realm expert. On the way, Su Fong also transmitted a message to Out Yin Changhen, asking about the whole story. So it turned out after the 2 great sects entered the Divine Wave Immortal Realm, they investigated the demon race's movements while suppressing the rebellion of the demon Tao cultivators in the Divine Wave Nation. The upper echelons and disciples of the sects all lived in the Divine Wave Nation's Imperial Palace while looking for the demon sealing Emperor's heavenly seal. Fairy Xuanxin was no exception. She lived in a relatively remote palace in the Imperial Palace. There were many experts in the 2 great sects, and the Imperial Palace was full of arrays and barriers. Even Immortal Realm experts didn't dare to barge into the palace. What no one expected was that a demon race expert sneaked into the Divine Wave Nation's Imperial Palace and took advantage of the fact that Tong Yu, a special disciple of the constellation of 9 heavens, was out. He swallowed and took over his body, then entered the palace openly and paid a visit to Fairy Xuanxin. The constellation of 9 heavens and the clear sky, Thousand Scrolls Gate had formed an alliance, and the special disciples of the two great sects had close contact with each other. Fairy Xuanxin and Tong were old friends, so naturally, she wasn't on guard. She was unexpectedly sealed by the demon race expert, then swaggered out of the palace. It wasn't until she left the imperial palace that Fairy Xuanxin used a forbidden spell to barely activate a Dao artifact that Xian Tian had specially prepared for her. Xian Tian, who was far away in the clear sky, Thousand Scrolls Gate, sensed it through the Dao artifact and hurriedly used a supreme ability to send a message to the clear sky, Thousand Scrolls Gate expert guarding the palace. Chapter 1232. After receiving Xian Tian's message, the higher-ups of the clear skies, Thousand Scrolls door in the Divine Water Nation's imperial palace knew that something had happened to Fairy Xuanxin. The immortal lords of the clear skies, Thousand Scrolls door personally searched and tracked the aura. Finally, they found traces of the demon race's experts outside the royal city. It was a huge battle. The demon race's expert transformed into a heavenly demon with the strength of an immortal lord. Moreover, there was another immortal lord of the demon race and many other experts of the demon Dao. That demon lord actually managed to escape with Fairy Xuanxin. The clear skies, Thousand Scrolls door was shocked, so they gathered everyone in the imperial palace to discuss a plan. Whoosh, Su Fong flew across the sky and appeared above the Divine Water Nation's royal city. Who are you? More than a dozen experts of the two sects who were patrolling in the sky immediately gathered. Su Fong flipped his hand and showed his special disciple token. The experts of the two sects immediately showed respect and hurriedly let him pass. He passed through layers of array formations. When he arrived outside the Divine Water Nation's town hall, Su Fongda scanned with his full power. He sensed a familiar aura in the hall. What surprised Su Fong was that there were also experts of the Huoyin Shinrikyo. Among them, there was a very familiar aura. The blood bead formed by the blood oath in his body trembled when it sensed this aura. Yin Senshin. Yin Senshin's aura has become more profound. It's obvious that he's fused the dual swords of destruction to a new level. It won't be easy to fight him in the future. Let's find out more about the situation first. Su Fongda stepped into the hall. Inside the hall, the higher-ups of the two sects and the expert from other factions all had serious expressions. The atmosphere was stifling. On the throne, a dignified elder with a square face cupped his fists and bowed. Su Fong immediately asked, "What's the situation now?" The dignified elder was called Celestial Lord Xianlang. His aura was empty and vast. He was a powerful elder of the clear skies, Thousand Scrolls door. His strength had reached the level of an immortal lord, and he was one of the few people in the clear skies, Thousand Scrolls door, second only to the sect master. His status was even higher than Xian Tian. Gu Huajun's master immediately shouted coldly, "Su Fong, who do you think you are? How dare you speak so rudely to immortal Lord Xianlang in such a tone?" Su Fong was worried about the safety of his Dao companion and lacked etiquette. It's understandable. Immortal Lord Xianlang waved his hand magnanimously. A divine light flashed into Xianlang Immortal Lord's deep eyes as his gaze swept over Su Fong. He then said in a majestic voice, "Su Fong, you are indeed extraordinary to be able to escape safely from Sovereign Ying's pursuit." Su Fong cupped his fists again. "Thank you for your praise, Immortal Lord Xianlang. It's just that Su Fong is worried about Xuanxin's safety. Immortal Lord, please tell me about the current situation and how the sect is going to deal with it." Xianlang, Immortal Lord, looked at Gu Huajun's master. "Since Su Fong is so anxious, tell me." "Yes." Gu Huajun's master cupped his fists towards Immortal Lord Xianlang before speaking in a clear voice. That devil powerhouse sneaked into the palace. Obviously, he had long targeted Xuanxin and was well prepared. That's why he succeeded and escaped by luck. Immortal Lord led the sect's powerhouses and chased all the way to a void not far from the divine below immortal world. The devil powerhouse fled into the chaotic abyss and disappeared without a trace. Su Fong raised his eyebrows. With the strength of Immortal Lord and the higher-ups, no matter how dangerous the chaotic abyss is, it shouldn't be able to stop you. Gu Huajun's master sighed. You don't know. This chaotic abyss is constantly torn and shattered space-time everywhere. Moreover, there's a large area of spatial airflow constantly spurting out. Space-time is chaotic. Even if you don't get lost in it, you will die. Previously, in order to rescue the female cultivators who were kidnapped, many powerhouses of the sect have already fallen here. This person was not exaggerating. Like this abyss formed by spatial turbulence, the chaotic spatial airflow and all kinds of forces would destroy any matter. Moreover, it was impossible to use any Dao tools or divine abilities. It was like a forbidden zone for humans. Although an immortal lord powerhouse like Xianlang had astonishing strength, if he entered this abyss, even if he could resist the spatial airflow, he would be lost in the chaotic space-time. He might even be swept into other outer space and never be able to return. Gu Huajun's master continued. The devil race should have grasped some of the rules of the spatial airflow after many years of exploration. Not only can they enter and exit easily, they also set up layers of formations in some relatively weak places. As long as these formations are touched, it will cause the spatial airflow to riot. Lord Xianlang tried several times, but in the end, he was blocked by the violent airflow storm and had no choice but to return. So powerful. Su Fong's brows tightened. A voice came from the depths of Luo's body. This immortal domain is just an insignificant corner of the great immortal world. How big is the great immortal world? There are some ancient dangerous places, not to mention immortal lords. Even immortal emperors and immortal emperors would be swallowed up after entering. My corporeal body is sealed in such an ancient and mysterious place. Then he spoke to Sovereign Ba Mo in the cauldron transformation world with his soul. Sovereign Ba Mo, you once entered the devil race's camp built in the chaotic abyss. It's really as dangerous as they said. Sovereign Ba Mo quickly responded. Although it's dangerous, it's definitely not a place where even immortal lord powerhouses can't enter, as they said. It's just that you have to take some risks. If you encounter the devil race's powerhouses while passing through the spatial airflow, it's even more dangerous. In the clear sky myriad scroll gate, they're actually not willing to take the risk and disregard the life and death of Fairy Xuanqin. Such a sect. Su Fong's brows furrowed, his eyes exuding a cold chill. Then he asked, "How did you get in? Do you still have a chance to sneak in?" Sovereign Ba Mo answered, "Those devil race's envoys don't completely trust the human cultivators of our demonic mountain and the Nine-Night Devil sect. Every time, it's the devil race's experts who lead us through the spatial turbulence. Moreover, the spatial turbulence changes at any time. Only the true devil race can grasp the rules within." Seeing Su Fong frown, Sovereign Xianlang sighed helplessly. Su Fong, Fairy Xuanqin, was abducted by the devil race's powerhouses. This seat and the sect can't do anything. In addition, the sect will soon head to the god burial enclosure. This matter concerns the sect's rise and fall. Fairy Xuanqin's matter can only be put aside for the time being. We'll try to rescue her later. Su Fong asked back, "Is the sect just going to stand by and watch her die?" Sovereign Xianlang raised his eyebrows. "It's not that we don't want to save her. It's just that we're powerless." Out Qian Changhan's primordial spirit voice came. "Su Fong, Sovereign Xianlang has a grudge with Xianin Tian. How could he be willing to take the risk to save Fairy Xuanqin? There's no point in saying more." Su Fong's eyes shone with a fierce cold light. He said coldly, "May I ask if Sovereign Xianlang has ever tried? With such decisiveness, aren't you afraid that the sect's disciples will be bitterly disappointed?" "Impudent. Su Fong, you dare to question this seat?" Sovereign Xianlang's voice was majestic. His aura exploded, and the entire main hall fell into a huge pressure shackle, almost suffocating everyone. Gu Huajun's master said eccentrically, Who knows how many sex powerhouses will die in order to save Fairy Xuanxin? Could it be that Fairy Xuanxin's life is precious, but the lives of the sex other people are lowly? Inside the palace, some special disciples originally felt that it was unfair for Fairy Xuanxin. After hearing Gu Huajun's master's words, they felt that there was nothing wrong with the sect's way of handling things. They couldn't sacrifice more people's lives in order to save Fairy Xuanxin. To everyone, other people's lives didn't matter except themselves. Suddenly, a sigh sounded in the palace. It turned out that Yin Sanxin had stood up. The devil race is cruel by nature. According to what I know from ancient books, the devil race will capture human women and use them to cultivate their devil arts. They will first mate with the woman and make her pregnant. Then, they will gradually devour the child and the placenta. Finally, they will merge with the child alive and replace the baby, directly absorbing all the essence of the woman. Finally, they will break out of the womb. Thinking that Xuanxin will end up like this, I really feel so much pain that I want to die. Yin Xinxin's words made everyone in the main hall shudder. They were worried about Xuanxin's fate and felt sorry for her. This person said sorrowfully, "Xuanxin and I are in love, and I should sacrifice myself to save her. However, she is already someone else's Tao companion. If I go to save her, I will be misunderstood." Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Everyone's eyes focused on Su Fong. Yin Sanxin. It was obvious that he wanted to roast Su Fong on the fire. Su Fong shouted coldly, "Yin Sanxin, you shameless villain. How dare you stand here and spout nonsense?" Yin Sanxin smiled calmly, as if he didn't care. Gu Huajun's master said calmly, Yin Sanxin had some misunderstandings with the two major sects in the past. Now that the upper echelons of the sects have communicated, the misunderstandings have been resolved. Why can't he appear here? Out Yin Changhen transmitted his voice. Yin Sanxin previously colluded with the evil cultivator Santong and ambushed us. After being exposed by you, Huiyin Shinrikyo compensated the Star Palace and the Thousand Scroll Door. The upper echelons of the sect have decided not to pursue the matter against Yin Sanxin. Yin Sanxin looked at Su Fong and said again, "When you were trapped in the void realm inside the Imperial Mausoleum, Xuanxin went to rescue you regardless of the danger. Otherwise, you would have lost your life. Now that Xuanxin is in trouble, you only dare to blame others here. You're wasting Xuanxin's feelings for you. How shameless." Gu Huajun's master continued, "Su Fong, you were able to escape from Emperor Ying's pursuit. Your strength is incredible. Now that Fairy Xuanxin is in the Devil Clan's camp in the Chaos Abyss, you can kill your way in and rescue her." The two of them echoed each other. It was obvious that they wanted to force Su Fong into a dead end. As long as one wasn't a fool, who would jump into the fire pit helplessly, putting aside whether they could safely pass through the space-time turbulence. Who knew how many Devil Clan experts were hidden in the abyss? Even if immortal emperors went in, they wouldn't be able to return. From everyone's point of view, no matter how powerful Su Fong was, he would only die if he went in. It was impossible for him to rescue Fairy Xuanxin on a whim. If he went to rescue her, he would die. If he didn't go, he would be ridiculed. The reputation that he had built up in the past would instantly plummet. He would be mocked and despised. Su Fong's cold gaze swept across everyone's faces in the hall. He took in the expressions that were filled with sympathy, sighs, ridicule, and gloating. "Yin Sanxin, put away your clumsy tricks. Some people don't need to act like a clown," Su Fong said coldly. His sharp gaze swept past Immortal Master Xian Lang and the higher-ups. "Fairy Xuanxin is in the hands of the Devil Clan. If the sect doesn't want to rescue her, I will." Su Fong's clanging voice came out, and the hall suddenly became dead silent. Out Yin Zhonghen quickly stopped him. "Su Fong, you can't." A few higher-ups from Star Palace also spoke out. Buzz, buzz, in the hall there were discussions. Some were disdainful of Su Fong, some were praising him, and some were mocking him for being muddle-headed for a woman. Luo also advised from the blood jade in the depths of his body, "Su Fong, you have to think carefully. This time, you're not only facing the dangerous starry abyss outside the Nether Earth ruins, but also an important layer of the Devil clan. It is highly possible that you won't be able to return. Su Fong replied, I can choose not to go. If I do, it will leave a shadow in my heart and affect my Tao heart. If my Tao heart is not firm, how can I become an expert? Moreover, Fairy Xuanxin is my Tao companion, even in name. Chapter 1233. Lua no longer made sound. Green Feather King prays from within the crucible transformation realm. This is the Su Fong I know. If you retreat this time, this king will look down on you. The big monk was so scared that his face turned ashen. He couldn't help but mutter, I eat meat, drink wine, cheat people, and kill people, but I don't get close to women. That's why I've lived comfortably until now. Master is risking his life for a woman. This time, we won't be able to keep our lives. Ha! Bai Ling slapped his shiny bald head. You greedy, cowardly, shameless monk. Believe it or not, I'll break your 5 limbs so that you can't get close to women. Swish, swish, swish. Several big goblins' murderous gazes fell on the big monk. The Vermilion Emperor let out a strange cackle as his malicious gaze swept between the big monk's legs. The big monk was so scared that he felt a chill and quickly shut up. Although he didn't get close to women, it was better to leave the most important part of man on the body. Suddenly, Su Fong, I'll go with you to rescue Fairy Xuanxin. Among the disciples of the constellation of 9 heavens, a special disciple suddenly spoke up. It turned out to be Lien Changxian. He had always been secretly in love with Fairy Xuanxin, and even colluded with Yin Sun Shin because of this. Now that he stood up, it was quite heroic. I'm going to rescue my dual cultivation Tao companion. What are you going for? You're just a burden. Su Fong said coldly, very domineering. However, Su Fong was already qualified to look down on these special disciples. Not to mention that he was already on par with Lien Changxian when he was at the low level of the mystic immortal realm, and he didn't use any special abilities. As for now, he could basically ignore Lien Changxian. Out Yin Chanhin also proposed to go with him, but Su Fong flatly refused. Glancing at Xuanyu Immortal Monarch, Gu Huajun's master, and the other higher-ups, Su Fong raised the corner of his mouth and mocked. Such a sect, huh? Immortal Lord Xuanyu's face revealed a look of anger, and the other higher-ups also lost face. Such a huge sect, a powerful force that could shake the entire immortal AO great world, had stood by and watched their disciples die. However, Su Fong had stepped forward without hesitation. Just this boldness alone made them feel ashamed. He looked at Yin Sun Shin and said, You must be very pleased with yourself right now, thinking that your evil plan has succeeded, right? Don't be too pleased with yourself. I will bring Fairy Xuanxin back safely. You despicable person, just you wait. When I return, I will fulfill my blood oath and kill you. Yin Sun Shin said darkly, When you come back alive, I will be waiting for your challenge. Under everyone's gaze, Su Fongda walked out of the palace. Chana Su Fong's figure was not very tall, but it exuded an invisible aura, which made many people admire it. Some of the female cultivators present were even more moved. They all thought to themselves, if I can find such a dual cultivation Tao companion in this life, it will be worth it even if I die. Yin Sun Shin and even the 10 great young masters are not as good as Su Fong. Of course, there are also people who felt disdain for Su Fong. In this great immortal world that followed the law of nature, everyone only cared about themselves and risked their lives for others. Such a fool was rare. Huang Fufei secretly sent a primordial spirit voice to Yin Sun Shin. Brother Yin, this person is arrogant and domineering. He dares to look down on you like this. Should we kill him on the way? Yin Sun Shin secretly shook his head. There's no need. Su Fong will definitely die if he enters the chaotic flow abyss. There's no need to make things difficult for a dead person. Even if he can come back safely, with his soft-heartedness, he won't be able to do much. There's no need to care about him. Just kill him. Now that I've fused the twin swords of annihilation, I'll definitely be able to shine in this trip to the ruins of buried gods. If I can obtain that supreme physical body, It's only a matter of time before I become the supreme ruler of this immortal domain. Now that I've been mocked by an ant, why would I take it to heart? Huang Fu Fei said again, if Su Fong dies in the chaotic flow abyss, won't he not be able to obtain the true ethereal enlightenment? Yin Sanshin replied, then you'd better get it through the constellation of 9 heavens as soon as possible. After a few more days, the constellation of 9 heavens might undergo a great change. At that time, it will be even more difficult to obtain the true ethereal enlightenment. Huang Fu Fei was shocked. What great change! The higher-ups of Huiyin Shinrikyo revealed that Emperor Ning's mansion and Tiandao immortal domain are secretly contacting some powerful forces and preparing to take action against the constellation of 9 heavens. It's not only for the true ethereal enlightenment, but also because the master of Star Palace has become a supreme immortal emperor. This made Emperor Ning and immortal Emperor Tian Ong feel threatened. This matter is extremely secretive. Due to my extraordinary position in the sect, I only know a little about it. You must not reveal a single word to anyone else. Let your Huangfu clan prepare in advance so that you won't be buried together with Star Palace. Huangfu Fei's face instantly turned pale. Yen Senshin's eyes flashed with coldness. It turned out that he purposely told Huangfu Fei this shocking secret to let Star Palace prepare in advance. After Huangfu Fei returned, Huangfu Dojo would definitely take action. It was impossible for the higher-ups of Star Palace not to notice. With the constellation of 9 heavens on guard, it would not be so easy for Emperor Ning's mansion or Tiandao immortal domain to take action. Even if they managed to annex Star Palace, they would have to pay a heavy price. After all, Star Palace was a great sect that had been passed down for tens of thousands of years. When the power of Emperor Ning's mansion and Tiandao immortal domain was weakened, Huiyin Shinrikyo would rise. On the main seat above, the majestic voice of the Xianlang celestial world rang out. Everyone, this time I called you here not to discuss the matter of Fairy Xuanxin, but to announce another important matter. The 4 major forces, Clear Sky, Myriad Scroll Door, Constellation of 9 Heavens, Huiyin Shinrikyo, and Brahma Meditation Sect, have decided to unite once again and head to the God Burial Enclosure together. They're already experts in the sect rushing over, and we will be leaving soon. Whoosh in the void outside the divine billow immortal world, Su Fong flew over. Fairy Xuanxin had fallen into the hands of the devil race, and her life was in danger at any time. There was no room for delay. Let's first figure out the situation of the devil race in the turbulent abyss. After taking a deep breath, Su Fong calmed down and separated a part of his primordial spirit into the crucible transformation world. Devil Monarch Ba. The figure of Devil Monarch Ba flashed out of the array on the side of the crucible transformation world. Devil Monarch Ba, let me ask you, how many Devil Race and Devil Path cultivators are there in the Devil Race's camp, and how strong are they? Devil Monarch Ba answered truthfully, the Devil Race has long built a palace in the ruins inside the turbulent abyss as a camp for the Devil Race. Most of the Devil Race who have infiltrated this immortal domain live here. They have long since swallowed and integrated with the bodies of humans, appearing as human cultivators in various great worlds to infiltrate. It's hard to know the exact number. As far as I know, there are a total of 2 Devil Race experts who have reached the level of Immortal Emperor after transforming into heavenly devils. There are more than a dozen who are equivalent to the Great Elder, and more than 100 elders. As for the Devil Path cultivators controlled by the Devil Race, the Demonic Mountain, 9 Sea Devil Sect, and other Devil Path sects in this immortal domain have almost all surrendered to the Devil Race. There are at least 1,000 Devil Path cultivators in the Devil Race's camp. Su Fong frowned. So many. Devil Monarch Ba Imo hesitated for a moment, but didn't say anything. Su Fong coldly sneered. What? You still have some fantasies about the Devil Race. What are you trying to hide? I wouldn't dare. Sensing Su Fong's killing intent, Devil Monarch Ba Imo hurriedly spoke. The Devil Race calls the Devil Race's Demon Dawn fortress in the depths of the turbulent abyss outer space. What is the devil race's purpose for naming it like that? It means that the devil race has risen and entered the human immortal domain's frontier fortress. The devil race's ambitions aren't small. In the past, Demon Dawn Fortress was only used as a camp. But now, it is used as an important channel to invade this immortal domain. According to the devil race's emissary, after several million years of effort, the devil race is about to open a channel from the devil world to this immortal domain. It won't be long before the devil race will continuously invade this immortal domain from the distant devil world. Su Fong sucked in a breath of cold air, cold sweat dripping down his back and his scalp tingling. He asked Luo, do the devil race really have such a method to open a channel in the chaotic space-time? Luo replied, the devil world is extremely far away from this immortal domain. If one followed the normal route, it would take tens of thousands of years or even longer to reach this place. Moreover, one would have to pass through countless dangerous areas and difficulties. It is almost impossible to find a passage in the chaotic space-time and the countless distorted and fluctuating space-time cracks. However, there are always exceptions. Perhaps the demons have really done it. I can't say for sure. If this is true, then the devil race's ambitions are far too terrifying. Luo's tone became dignified. It seems that not long after the ancient war of immortals and demons ended, the devil race began to make preparations. They planned to open a new path and sweep away the entire human immortal Tao. If you have the chance, you'd best destroy this channel. Otherwise, once more devil race masters arrive in this immortal domain will be controlled by the devil race in less than 1,000 years. They might even defeat the immortal Tao and rule over the entire great immortal world. You simply won't have the chance to grow. Destroying the channel that the devil race spent several million years building. Luo, you really think too highly of me. Such an important matter should be left to the Tranquility Emperor's mansion or the heavenly law immortal world. This is the closest place to the immortal Ao great world. Su Fong forced a smile, temporarily putting this matter aside. He then asked Monarch Ba, Mo, do you know why the devil race wants the demon sealing emperor's heavenly seal? The Ba Mo monarch replied, according to the devil emissary, there is a devil realm expert sealed in the god-burying enclosure. It is said that his strength is comparable to immortal Emperor Yu, and he is called the Devil Venerable by the devil race. During the great war of the immortals and devils, he was sealed by human experts. The devil emissary came to this immortal region with an important mission, which was to find the place where the devil venerable was sealed. It was not until the fourth sun rose that the seal loosened, and the devil race found out that the devil venerable was sealed in the god-burying enclosure. Su Fongdao was puzzled. The emperor of the Divine Wave Nation said that the god-burial enclosure sealed the body of the Divine Wave Nation's imperial ancestor. Not only the 8 forces, but even Charm Knight also had designs on this body. Yet the devil race was certain that it was a supreme devil lord. What exactly was sealed in the god-burial enclosure? It was a mystery. Regardless of this, with the demon sealing emperor's heavenly seal in his hands, he wasn't afraid of the 8 forces, the devil race, or Charm Knight obtaining it. Whether it was the body or a devil race master, he would take it all away. Whoosh, activating the feather fan. He moved as fast as lightning in the void. His speed was comparable to that of a world immortal realm master. He arrived outside the chaotic abyss. The spatial turbulence caused the star sand and star fog in the void to roll and spiral. It looked like a huge monster that could swallow everything. The spatial turbulence below formed a huge, invisible abyss. The air currents and clouds rolled. Even with Su Fong's perfected ability, he could only see a distance of 300 meters. It looked extremely shocking. Monarch Ba Mo asked, Master, should we think of a proper way to go in? What proper way can there be? We can only take one step at a time. If there is no other way, we could just kill our way in. Su Fong's voice was filled with killing intent and supreme dominance. Chapter 1234. If they were to directly kill their way into Demon Dawn Fortress, that would be a dragon's lair or a tiger's den. If they were to directly kill their way into Demon Dawn fortress, they would have to pass through the endless space turbulence. Sovereign Bot Demon shivered, but he didn't dare to dissuade them. Just as they were about to fly into the space turbulence, Blue Feather King suddenly spoke out. Su Fong, leave it to this king. Su Fong hesitated. Blue Feather King, can you do it? Blue Feather King's voice thundered. Boy, you dare say this king can't do it? The big goblin in the Crucible Transformation realm laughed. Su Fong quickly explained, Blue Feather King, there are jets of air everywhere below. If you aren't careful and get caught up in the air currents, even an elder might not be able to withstand it and might even be killed. This king is from the rock race. Don't forget what the rock race's innate ability is. Blue Feather King, in this space turbulence, speed is of no use. Speed is just this king's most basic innate ability to control the air. Ever since this king fused with the world fragment, not only did his strength rapidly increase, but an even more important innate ability of the ancient rock race gradually awakened. That is the ability to control space. Su Fongdao was shocked. Space controlling Blue Feather King. You now have the heaven-defying ability to control space. The big goblin in the Crucible Transformation realm also looked at Blue Feather King with shock and awe. Cough, cough. When this king becomes a supreme Fey Emperor or Fey Emperor one day, he will have the ability to travel through space and time and even tear through the void. Blue Feather King coughed again and again. Disappointment, disdain. Blue Feather King's face flushed red. His eyes widened as he angrily said, this king might not have the ability to travel through space and time, but he can easily control the space currents. The turbulence below is nothing to this king. This innate ability to control space currents was truly amazing. Then I'll have to trouble Blue Feather King. Su Fong was also looking forward to seeing Blue Feather's innate ability. It's rare for me to come out and stretch my muscles. What's so hard about it? If I don't put in some effort, I really will become a waste. Blue Feather King proudly said. Ever since he came to the great immortal world, he rarely had a chance to fight. Green Feather King transformed into a giant rock and swallowed Su Fong into his stomach. With a flap of his wings, Qingyu flew into the turbulence. These airflows could even kill elders. Only the great elder could use his godly aura to resist them. However, he didn't dare to enter those airflows. He would be sucked into some unknown space. Green Feather King flapped his wings and stirred up the airflow as if he was traveling in the void. The shocking airflow only caused his body to tremble a little. What amazing talent! Su Fong couldn't help but exclaim. Even Law was full of praise in the Blood Jade, as expected of an ancient beast. If he fully awakens all his innate abilities, not only the immortal realm, he can even roam the myriad realms. However, the more talented an exotic beast is, the harder it is to awaken its talent. The deeper they went, the more violent the air currents became. The air currents covered Green Feather King's body, creating sparks as they rubbed against each other. It was as if they were about to be incinerated into dust. Several breaths of time later, Green Feather King descended 100,000 feet, displaying his amazing innate ability. Even those fierce elders wouldn't dare to fly in such a calm and domineering manner in the air currents. But he was like a fish in water. However, the deeper he went, the closer he got to the distorted space at the bottom of the abyss, the more violent the air currents became. Although Green Feather King was able to persist, his speed became increasingly slow. Green Feather King, stop! There's someone down there. Su Fong suddenly said. He had been using the heaven's secret life, shrinking art, to sense the surrounding movements. At the bottom of the abyss, there were small pieces of ruins floating and moving in the chaotic streams of space. They were like pieces of wood spinning in a whirlpool, and they weren't swallowed by the spatial light. Hidden in these ruins were figures. Because of the influence of the turbulent space flows, even Su Fong's great perfection cultivation found it difficult to sense them. Luckily, he had been warned ahead of time by Monarch Ba Demon and had used the heaven's secret life, shrinking art. There are definitely demons here. What should we do? They aren't demons, just some demonic path cultivators on guard. We'll kill them, but we have to kill them all without them knowing. We can't allow them to report back to the demons at Demon Dawn. Su Fong emerged from Green Feather King's body. Then, he released the Masters, Big Goblin, and even the Ghoul Eater. Remember, don't let a single one go, and don't give them a chance to report back. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. The Masters, Big Goblin, and Ghoul Eater all flew towards the floating ruins according to the targets that Su Fong had assigned them. Then, Lin Ming's second primordial spirit turned into a black Xianguang. With a whoosh, it shuttled through the void, ignoring the terrifying air currents and storms as it flew straight towards the floating ruins. These demonic path cultivators that the demons had placed outside were all demonic path cultivators. Their cultivation realms weren't too high. Most of them were only at the level of core disciples. As for Lin Ming's second primordial spirit, he was responsible for dealing with the strongest master. This was a fierce elder who was on par with a mortal Changgu. With Lin Ming's second primordial spirit's current transcendent strength, dealing with an elder was like killing a chicken with a butcher's knife. Su Fong was also cautious. This time, he had to go to the demon race's lair. He didn't dare to be careless. Whoosh! 4 or 5 breaths of time later, a demon cultivator circled around the turbulent space flows and arrived at Su Fong's side. The one who spoke was actually Su Fong's voice. This lord has already dealt with the strongest demonic path cultivator. What should we do with his mortal body? Su Fong planned to have his second primordial spirit control this mortal body and infiltrate Demon Dawn's stronghold. Monarch Ba Demon, who had just returned, reminded him, the demon race's laws are very strict. These people were sent here to monitor the situation. If they return without the order of the demons, they will be directly executed. Master, this method is not feasible. Lin Ming could only give up. By the time the Masters and Big Goblin returned, all of the demonic path cultivators in the ruins had been dealt with without leaving a single one behind. They didn't even have a chance to report back. After receiving the Masters and Big Goblin into the Crucible Transformation Realm, Su Fong approached the spatial light mark. Passing through this spatial light mark, there was a chance that one would be swept into some strange space-time by the chaotic power of space-time. Su Fong had already experienced just how fierce this was before. Blue Feather's body was far too large. In order to prevent any accidents from occurring when entering the spatial light mark, Su Fong could only personally act. Monarch Ba Demon, how do we reach Demon Dawn's stronghold? Master, after the spatial light mark releases its strongest flow of air, the light mark will shrink. If we enter the spatial light mark, we must grasp the timing. If we miss even the slightest bit, then we will be swept into some strange space-time. If we enter the spatial light mark, we will be swept into a spatial tear. Then, the demons will be notified and we will be brought to Demon Dawn's stronghold. Su Fong took a deep breath, patiently waiting. He constantly stimulated his divine might to resist the terrifying space flow. 6 hours later, the spatial light mark suddenly violently fluctuated. Then a 1,000-foot-long flow of air gushed out. It was simply amazing. Let's go. Su Fong erupted with his aura, rushing into the wild flow of air. The flow of air collided with his aura, causing Su Fong to stagger. Sparks burst out from his body, making him seem as if he were burning. Soon his aura shattered. The flow of air left bloody marks on Su Fong's body. A flow of air wrapped around his right arm, nearly tearing it off. The spatial light mark was about to close. Su Fong clenched his teeth. He stimulated the illusion fire cloud, and a pair of fire cloud wings appeared behind him. His burning aura rapidly increased, and he finally drilled into the spatial light mark before it closed. Su Fong was sucked into the spatial light mark by the flow of air. Like this, he disappeared from the chaotic abyss. In the blink of an eye, Su Fong appeared in an unknown space-time. Unable to control his body, he crashed into some ruins. This was a dark and gloomy spatial tear. It was gray and incomparably gloomy. There were floating materials everywhere, as well as broken ruins. There were no stars, no earth, no spiritual energy, and no sunlight. There was only a cold air that was ejected from the chaotic space-time, as well as spatial cracks that twisted and fluctuated. Su Fong stimulated his body to perfection, displaying his astonishing regenerative abilities. The subduing dragon wood and nine yang true chi erupted. His injuries were immediately healed, and he had only lost a bit of blood energy. From here to Demon Dawn Stronghold, you will have to cross a very long space distance. You will have to pass through countless chaotic space-time zones and spatial cracks. The space-time turbulence is constantly changing, and you can be sucked into another space-time at any time, never to return. Without a demon leading the way, it is impossible to enter. It would be better to go back and think of another plan. The Ba Demon Sovereign cautiously advised Su Fong. Without a demon leading the way, I might not be able to enter. Su Fong proudly smiled and stepped into the spatial tear. Master, be careful. The crucible transformation Ba Demon Sovereign cried out in alarm. Su Fong used his supernatural abilities, allowing the other big goblin experts to follow his eyes and see what he was seeing. The Ba Demon Sovereign saw that Su Fong was running around the spatial tear like a headless fly. If this wasn't suicide, then what was? Who would have thought that Su Fong would suddenly erupt with an astonishing divine might? He tore a hole in the air currents. Although it was difficult for him to advance, he wasn't swept away. Su Fong had secretly used the Heaven's Secret Life shrinking technique to sense a faint remnant aura from the spatial tear. The Heaven's Secret Life shrinking technique was related to destiny. It could respond to the destiny aura of others. As long as someone passed through the spatial tear, they would definitely leave behind destiny aura. Under the effects of the chaotic space-time, flow, and all sorts of other strengths, it would be difficult to preserve one's aura. Even if an immortal Emperor-level powerhouse used their supernatural abilities, they still wouldn't be able to sense it. However, Su Fong's Heaven's Secret Life shrinking technique was a destiny supernatural ability. It didn't sense nature, but sensed the destiny aura of nothingness, as well as some strength that was connected to destiny. The chaotic space-time flow wouldn't be able to sweep it away. This aura contained the destiny aura of the demon race, and also the aura of demonic path cultivators. If one followed this destiny aura, not only would they be safe, but they would also be able to find Demon Dawn Stronghold. Su Fong constantly avoided the chaotic space-time flows, passing through the hazy layers of air. Suddenly, in a relatively stable area of the void, Su Fong stopped. There's an array formation. Through his great circle of perfection, Su Fong could see that there were fine silk-like runes that blocked off this area. These runes wove together to form an enchantment that didn't have any aura. As long as one touched it, they would trigger the surrounding space-time turbulence. They would either be killed by the jets of air or be sucked into another space-time. Inside the crucible transformation, Sovereign Ba Demon was left dumbfounded. He was shocked. To be able to set up an array formation here, it was naturally the demon race. This also proved that they were heading in the right direction. Even an immortal Emperor-level powerhouse wouldn't be able to find the exact route to Demon Dawn Stronghold. Yet, Su Fong had actually done it. Master has many abilities. They are 10 times, 100 times fiercer than you can imagine. They are nearly omnipotent. If you follow such a master, I guarantee that you will be 10,000 times better than being a slave to the demon race. Mao Chong patted Sovereign Ba Demon's shoulder, his voice filled with pride.